come on. I know you're sleeping now. You gotta wake up some more, yeah? Okay, let's go. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much. I said they lie. The people fool us so. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not. I said we tired with their lies. We tired with their promises that led us to all our damages. We tired with that speech they preach in D and now unique they deceive us. The thing we saw it frustrate us. So why can't you lie? Why can't you steal? Why can't you allow the citizens to be? You see, we just tell you that why we vote tell you. But you fool us, you screw us, you use us and later on abuse us. So why? The government should lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us.
The man Christians Robert is already in the building. Bills ain't paid. People are suffering.
The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They can lie, they can steal, they will not go. No one to trust. My people don't want to hope on. Nobody. My hope that I have been broken. Telling you, brother. So where are the schools? Where are the roads? Where are the jobs that they say they could afford? But they're too selfish. The people tired with their rhetoric. People tired. They tired. You see the reason why we ask why the government betray? They have enough of time, but then instead they delay. People suffer. No war, but people crying for hunger.
Telling you no war in Liberia, but people are crying from hunger. They told us there would be road construction going on, but there's nothing close to road construction but devastation. The people are...
So the nation is poor. You got nothing to show. Nothing.
We want to welcome all of you to the closing argument.
The government...
As all things said, this is your platform.
You lie. Why? But that's the question that we ask. They lie. The people fool us. The people lie to us. The government betray us. They betray us so much.
Celia Sonic, welcome to the show. Liberian historian. Liberian historian says it's all love.
The people fool us.
People fool us, they lie to us, and they're making mockery of us. The government betray us.
They can lie, they can steal, they will not go around.
They lied to us, they fooled us, they told all of the good things that we wanted to hear, but then it was just all makeshift. It was all just word of mouth. Nothing.
Come on.
Those of you joining us for the first time, we want to welcome you to Talk Like, an argument. I almost said talk like they were. Welcome to the closing argument. Wherever you may be joining us from, we ask you to please share the video, invite other people, tell somebody else. The closing argument is on. We are also on YouTube. And the local radio stations in Liberia, 96.1 FM. As we prepared ourselves tonight for our host, Alexander Bearded Toga. This man is going to be taking us through the rest of the conversation tonight. We want to say welcome, folks. Thank you all for being here. Enough of the music. We are late. Our guest is already in studio, so we will cut the music short. We will get right into the part of the conversation that is of much more interest to all of you guys. So let's bring all of our panelists on, including our host, Alexander Bearded. Welcome to the show. Folks, we want to thank all of you for being a part of today's podcast. I will now hand over the mic to the man who's hosting us, and I will moderate the rest of the podcast. I see Kelly Bo is here with his tennis image behind him. I don't know what he want to prove out here, but I know one of these days we'll find out what he's ready that good. And of course, we got Grace who also just joined us. But folks, we say thank you. Thanks for being a part of today's conversation. Alex, take it from here.
Thank you, and let me say greetings to all of you. I don't know whether Grace has officially announced that she's home. Grace Gua. If I know for security reason, maybe you want to answer or you want to answer what to.
Feel free.
Thank you. So we like to, Kelebu, you want to say something, but you muted. Oh, okay. So we like to welcome Madam Grace Gua to Liberia. She's popping through the country. Mr. Kelebu Gonglo is also on the show tonight. Tonight we'll be hosting the party's chairperson for the Liberian People's Party of Councillor Tiawan Gonglo. He's expected to join us. They've come up with a release, that has been shaking the entire establishment. The welcomes and initiatives of the president's 100 days, and then they talk about some of the excesses of the regime as well in the 100 days deliverables. We're going to be talking about that and some financial issues. But today, a lot of things happening in Monrovia today. Before we can bring him on, we'll also chit-chat on that. Jay Yankwe Zaza will be joining us. But before then, there are a few things that we can talk about before driving him on. We're expecting other panelists to be joining us, Dr. Peabody. We got Alex Juju Jones, our deepest sympathy to Chairman Ben Sanvi, who lost his auntie. I don't know whether it's in Liberia or the US or where, but our deepest condolences to him. The closing argument for those of you listening, we're on Truth 96.1 in Monrovia, and Truth also has a branch in Nima County. We are also on Hot 107.9 in Monrovia. We're also on YouTube. You can get us. If you're watching, you can also share this podcast to several other people. We've been very glad to hear you. But a couple of things. One of them has to do with the flooding that overtook Monrovia today. It was all over. I think Grace was in some of those situations. She tour some parts of Monrovia today, so she cannot give hands-on information from the ground. What's happening with the flooding? There's a lot of blame games. There are some people that blame the government. There are some people that blame the communities for, building in the alleyways and all of that. Then today the CDC had another event. I think they called it the comeback. After setback, comeback. So the CDC had a major event today where the party's headquarters was crowded with a lot of people. I think they're trying to reunite and reorganize the party after the defeat to Joseph Yuma Boaka. So basically, these are two of the trending issues in Liberia today. If other issues pop up, I will definitely bring them over. But Grace, what do you make of what you saw around Liberia today, especially Monrovia?
Well, it's nice to be here on the right. So I'm happy I'm here. I'm in Liberia right now, and there is nowhere like home. When you, it's kind of beautiful. I don't care how it look, but it's just you just feel that presence, and you just really want to be a part of Liberia as a born citizen of the country. So I'm happy to be here, and the place is not what it used to be like. Although I've been in Liberia ever since 2009, I come almost every year to Liberia, and my last time was in, I think, 2019, and then the Ebola hit. So after that, I just came again 2024. But being here, it's kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It's bittersweet because you want everything to be very nice and you want everything to be good, but the country still has a way to go. And we're hoping that this that future that we're looking at, especially when it comes to what is happening presently in the country with the rain and then the flooding and everything is very bad. Today, I went to Looking Town.
Great.
And it was not easy for me to get there. So the roads are very terrible. And it wasn't like that. In 2018, when I came, was not this bad. In 2019, but the roads are very terrible. Getting to Looking Town, I had to go through Jamaica Road. The driver had to take me through somewhere else. We bypass.
Yes.
And I have a high car, so the car is high. But he told me that Freeport is very, very bad. So we had to boycott Freeport. So I haven't even been around Freeport area. So we hit Fartown, then we got to go into Claratown and hit another bypass into this place and that place and all that. Flooding, the flooding is in many other areas, and we see it the most across the bridge area and also in Marshall, where it take over people's houses. Some people are crying. The flooding took over their homes. They can't go in it. The water stopping there under their breast. Some people are stopping on their shoulder, And I think because people have built houses all in the alleyways. So even going back to my house that I grew up in, every time I go there, I still can't make up the area because all the places that had spaces that we were walking, they all got houses in between. And so I don't know what regulations are set for these things, but it's very bad. We hope this government step it up.
Yes. So, I mean, I saw you post about sanitary condition, for example. Yeah. So you were talking about the streets of Monrovia. You were talking about what the city corporation is currently doing about Monrovia. You'd like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, you just broke in, but I would say the sanitary condition is deplorable. I mean, the new bridge, that water used to be so clean across that bridge. I would just be amazed looking into the water and the canals and stuff like that. But now they finished overtaking the water, so you can't see the beauty of the new bridge and the surroundings. It's not beautiful anymore. It's not. The dirt took away the beauty from it. So, and I think up to 2016 it looked better. I was here 2016 for a minute. I stayed here for like 3 weeks, and it wasn't looking that way. The place was much better. So Liberia has digressed. That's all.
So now let's talk the politics of it. Let's talk the politics of it before we go to Mr. Dunklo. What do you make of it? The politics of it. What do you make of the CDC's gathering today? You come from, is it Lanto, right?
She expressed her opinion already.
Exactly. She expressed her opinion. I'm picking up.
I don't come from any party. I always told you that I wasn't a part.
Oh, you just support Moniba.
I supported Moniba in 2023. Yeah.
Okay, now that you joined the party.
I'm not a member of the party.
Okay. So what do you make of the CDC's gathering today?
Well, I actually came back home and I wanted to clear the street because I know CDC always call crowd. And people were saying, oh, we're raining. And one or two of my friends, that I hang out with today a little bit, say, oh, it's raining. Nobody will go there, but a lot of people went there. So in fact, I left the streets because I wanted to give them a chance to, exhibit their human rights and their rights to the country. So I hope they feel free when other people are doing it so they can allow people to do theirs.
Okay. No, but you know the CDC government now, so I thought they would not allow other people anymore. Government will be different.
No, but the thing is that even if the other government, sometimes I think they do still want to try to fight people and intimidate them. But I think that the gathering was very, very organized. I would say that, and they went there, they did their thing. If the other opposition can learn from that, then they can learn from that. I will always give it to CDC when it comes to that. Doesn't mean that I'm supporting them, but they know how to call their cry. They know how to.
Right.
Other people.
So, Mr. Gonglo, there is one quotation that I wanted to run your way. That is from the CDC's activity. I'm trying to pick that up. All right, and it says that's from Chief Siri Allen. He spoke at the CDC's event, and he said, "You must be aware that for a man who is almost 80 years old to be seeking employment and a job, it means he's an unachiever and unsuccessful." That's from Chief Siri Allen. What do you make of that statement today?
This statement speaks for itself. Why you want me to interpret? It speaks for itself. It's just as clear as daylight. 80 years, you must have achieved everything. You must have nothing you want anymore. You've passed.
So at 80, you're not supposed to be thinking about running for president.
No, to do anything new. Your lifestyle, your record must speak for itself at 80. Okay, so to come and say I want a job to leave a legacy, it tells.
I don't know, but a lot of people don't see the presidency as a job. A lot of people do see the presidency as a service area. Like some people see the legislature as a place for service. They don't see it like job. That's why many people will run for president and say, I don't even want salary.
Yeah, there.
Toga, quickly, don't forget you got your guests in the back.
Yes, so we can keep.
Yeah, sure. Just chatting on few things quickly. Just to build the team.
He's using his
data.
So,
okay.
Who you see? Oh, yeah. I mean, that Congress party there, don't worry about that, man.
You should know it. So, but yeah, it's a thing, Toga. You know, there is something say what up to be and what it is. They are two different things. What you're talking about, what up to be is the presidency, public service up to be what is about service, not about anything.
Right.
But Liberia redefined everything that is standard in the world. The presidency in Liberia is about sitting, about getting retirement and generational wealth for their children. I mean, this is what Liberia has been. In other countries, it's not about that. In most countries, it's not about that. In fact, if you want to, I want to speak for the United States. In the United States, most presidents, if they are not wealthy before going to the White House, they get wealthy after they leave the White House, the White House, because that's when they start to give speeches and they get paid for speeches and what have you. Bill Clinton left the White House broke. Barack Obama is making more money today. He left the White House also broke. Okay, so this is what the presidency should be about: service, not to go there where Joe Biden Jr. is the one deciding which company should come in the country, which company should make business. I mean, it should not be about that. We saw that with Ellen Johnson.
You just brought something to my mind. I don't know, like I keep seeing something from the executive mansion. Like the president has gone to Ghana. The president named like 5 or 6 members of the delegation. And then the president is saying they can name the rights, but they are made out of aides, they are made out of media people, they are made out of security. I mean, you work in government for some time. You think that's the way they should be pointing the president's script now, that you can just name 5 men and the rest of the people are not known to the country?
Well, for every presidential trip, there ought to be an objective for that trip. In fact, ordinarily in your life, before you leave your house in the morning to say, I'm leaving Fender, like I live in Fender, I'm going to red light, there has to be a purpose why I'm going to red light. What all do I need to go to red light? And what would I achieve when I go to red light? So that's how it should be. But under this administration, is not what we're seeing. They make foreign trip, no objective. They come by, no better report. I mean, no achievement. There was a trip, the business trip in Texas. There was a trip in South Korea. I mean, for Ghana is like he's living between Accra and Monrovia. He's been to Ghana so many times. He went to where? Is that Equatorial Guinea or Guinea-Bissau? From Texas is where he went. So the list goes on. The president makes trip without the country getting to know why that trip, the purpose of that trip, and what that trip has achieved. So this is similar to that. It's nothing different from similar trips President Bouaga has made.
Thank you. Let's welcome, and I hope, sir, I'm calling your name properly. Say Yankwe Zaza, J. Yankwe Zaza.
Zeze.
Zeze.
Zeze, yeah.
Yankwe.
I mean, you just spell it Zeze. It should be Z-A-Y. But there are a lot more people, so
spell it different. So how are you? And welcome to the closing argument. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I'd like to extend thanks to the closing argument company or industry or institution, and to the panelists, the beautiful lady there, Grace Gua, Kalebo Gonglo, and Mr. Toga Alexander Belda. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, sure.
I'm sorry if I'm not.
Not too bad. It's okay.
you can call me anyway, Zaza, Jojo, Gigi. Name identifies a person, period. I was taught by different nationalities, Philippines, Indians, Americans, Germans, and of course, I learned how to live with any kind of pronunciation. It doesn't matter to me. I want to say thanks to the Liberian people who might have tuned in tonight.
Right. So thank you again for joining us. One of the key issues that I'd like to start with is something that is embedded in your 100 days deliverable, update that you came out in a whole release. It has to do with the World Economic Ground Code. You come from a political institution that stand-up bearers seem to be very strong on issue of justice, issue of people who perpetrated violence against the country, legal issues and all of that. So I wanted to start with the World Economic Ground Code. You seem to be supporting the president's decision for this establishment. I wanted to know, why is your party taking such decision?
Quickly before I come to that, let me just talk about the issue the panelists described in Monrovia today, the flooding, the Manchester houses all around. Those are symptoms of the problem in Liberia. I remember when I analyzed the budget of Detroit in New York City, I picked up one issue in New York City. Basically, it was a question of assigning children to guardians and parents, and of course, but then we said to ourselves, why are, in fact, people are unable to take care of their children? Basically, when you don't have jobs, there's confusion in the house, and of course, there's misunderstanding, and a lot of times, the fathers abandon the homes, and of course, you have a single mother taking care of 4 or 5 children. Many of the times, of course, they will misbehave, and the children will have to be reassigned to a guardian. And in many cases, the children are not disciplined, and of course, they come out the way we don't want for them to come out. And if you see that also, you can say in Liberia, how we focus on creating jobs, many of the rural residents who migrated to Monrovia or urban cities remain in their homes. They will now build a lot of houses in the wetland.
Sorry about that. Hearing, okay, I think. Sorry, the radio studio was coming through. Go ahead, sir.
The flooding will not be taking place because houses will be built according to the regulations, but the population is so huge and crowded that it's difficult for the administrators to enforce the rules and regulations on housing or code of ethics. Nobody is following the law. So you go in the street, there are so many cars moving that people don't follow the law in terms of the traffic because the cities are overcrowded. People are migrating from rural villages to come to Monrovia because there where the jobs are. Until we can focus on making sure people are employed, we're going to have the problem of overcrowdedness. Of course, you go to Claratown, the pathway that I had in Buza Quarter doesn't exist. You got houses everywhere because people are looking for a way to survive. The jobs are in Monrovia, and therefore they are in Monrovia. And I hear people say, go back home. I don't have a home if there's no job. Economic is the reason of migration. Where there's job, there where people move. But let me just quickly, before I come to your issue of the TRC, I just want to say thanks to those who participated in the election and listened to our views and our policies, whether they voted for us or not. But we believe that we were able to give messages out there very different from others. And basically, again, one of the things that our Honorable Councillor Tiawan S. Gonglu and Dr. Imayo K. Yure Yapawolo focused on was jobs, food industry. By now, they will have assembled military men and women who are underemployed, call on the ministries of Internal Affairs, Agriculture, the College of Agriculture at the University of Liberia, CARI, to see how they could come together, invite partners, to see how we can begin to grow food. If we attempted to do that in 15 counties, many of the young guys who are using any means to survive, whether to means that you and I don't approve, will be transferred to these counties. It will build, for example, homes and houses and even school facilities. They will stay there and begin to learn how to live good lives. But here we are, we don't have jobs, and everybody is in Monrovia. That's one of the things that we focus on. And we were disappointed when Honorable Boakai could not increase the budget for agriculture. 5 million, that's what he allocated. I mean, but he's giving the domestic debt 69 million. When he refused to abide by the Maputo agreement, at least 10% of our budget, and that would have been 69 million. Have we done so? Today we'll be talking about, people will begin to focus on, oh, I'm going to be transferred to Nimba or Peter. Can you imagine we're growing food, we're growing meat or preparing proteins for people to be well nourished, feed our children, feed prison inmates, feed patients in the hospitals. Today we import food to feed them. That's a shame. Go to Monrovia. Chicken feet is what they're selling now everywhere you go. You don't see moke hen anymore. Even the fish, those who are fishing are exporting the fish because it is expensive to make more money. And that's what we're talking about. You talk about CDC today celebrating. Of course, yeah, they're celebrating. But if this Boakai administration had begun to enforce the issue of corruption, many of these people who were running the streets today or yesterday, who have been calling for leniency, pleading for the government not to prosecute them, they will not be running to the street thinking about coming back 2029. They will be worried about going to jail. But what did Boakai do? Elected people or appointed people who maybe they didn't even know the job, they don't have the experience. And so that industry has collapsed. So that asks another question. Is he appointing the right person for the TRC? Or is he doing it to undermine the whole effort to establish the code? Because if you appoint somebody who is not going to be effective, you are indirectly killing the purpose of the code. You're going to have nothing but fights, or maybe he will be asked to recuse himself because of issues, or maybe he will be asked who is his partner, law partner, and maybe the law partner has influence. And of course, yes, if you have a lawmaker in Liberia today that has $2 million cash US in his account, he has influence, he has connection. He will buy judges, he will buy witnesses to testify that the testimony are questionable. So the TRC is very important. But Boakai appointing people for the asset recovery who were not prepared to do the job might remind us that the gentleman that he has appointed might not be the right person. Yes, we applauded him for at least establishing the law, Article 131, in order to establish the war.
I don't control it. Now, what he need can control it. What he need? Yeah. Go ahead, please, sir. Okay, but then let me hold you there a little. Let me hold you there a little. I think you've already given a whole summary, and I think it's going to be very interesting. Given I see that you can you go back a little so you can fully fit into the box, Mr. Sisi? All right, you can come a little on your right. Can you come a little on your right? Okay, very good. Like that, you're right in the middle. That's better. Now, I see that you're about to throw some shot on both ends, and interestingly, you want to speak about some of the ills in both the current establishment and that of the past. So you rightly want to position yourself maybe now for 2029, which is very good. But I wanted to say before I can go to Grace and Mr. Gonglo. Now, some of these issues that you're bringing up, don't you, as all of the collaborating institutions or the institutions that came on board to endorse the Unity Party in the second round, and where some of you even got 1 or 2 slots in the government and all that, don't you people go to joint interactive gatherings where you can fully express yourself internally, and then you coming outdoor and expressing some of the missteps of the Bouaka administration? Because I consider you an insider. So when you say something, the public strongly going to believe it because you're an insider. Have you or your party leadership sat with the president and expressed some of these issues?
I think you wrongly stated something. We are not a collaborating entity. We basically went to support Unity Party because we felt that between the two parties, it was a better party to work with. So we basically went to support. After the election is over, we waited for 100 days because we wanted our honeymoon period to leave him alone. That's why we were quiet. There were many things that were taking place. Many things were taking place. We didn't bother because we promised to wait for 100 days. That's why we were quiet. 100 days are over? Oh no. We are about to ask him to do the right thing. I mean, quickly, look at what he's doing. I mean, he's signing a check, $563,000 for senator, an appropriation for 12 months to be paid in 1 day against the PFM. He's hiding the purchase of 300 buses. Why? From the lawmakers. He did not disclose to the lawmakers that he was going to buy 285 yellow machines. He was hiding the amount of $296 million as loan to be borrowed. He only reported $45 million in the budget. Why is he hiding things? Why? Is that something that we don't know? Why did he sign a check when the law says that when you have suppliers for goods or services, they should submit bids, they should submit proposal to sell things to us, and you got PPC to go through them, you got the lawmakers to approve it? He doesn't want to do that, and he turns around and gives the lawmakers a big fat check that should be paid over 12 months. He paid the check in 1 day. By right, the hotels, the restaurants should be submitting vouchers as to how much they will be charging the lawmakers. But the Honorable Bouaka bypassed that procedure, which is against the PFM law. So, is that the organization you want to work with? I feel so happy because when some of us said he was not the president to associate with, other people thought we were arrogant. No, here we come today. We were not arrogant. We know Buckeye. He been around for too long. Now one day he has challenged the status quo. Here we are. We come from a dancing giant. We come to a sleeping giant. Honorable George Manawiya was dancing, and Nathaniel McGill was doing everything behind him. Today we got Buckeye sleeping, I guess. That's why you have 4 or 5 names for one position submitted for confirmation hearing. Why we have for example, asked for $80,000 when the president of Liberia was still George Manawiya. Why? Without even contacting the lawyers. He was not even the president when he asked for that. So I'm saying to you, we took the wrong person. But we don't blame the Liberian people. We blame ourselves because we did not do a good job. But we ask them, don't wait for 2029. Join the efforts to ensure that the Buckeye administration will do the right thing. That's why I'm happy you called me to be a guest tonight. You are helping the process to educate the Liberian people that we need to do better than this. Why would you go to Ghana and arrange for 3 old buses that have been parked for 8 years? Those buses went to Ghana in 2016. Why don't you go to Brazil, to the manufacturing company, and make a deal and bring new buses and have your warranty period or warranty years? Why? But by the way, why he didn't just call the lawmakers on the other side of the aisle, the other branch, and say, I want to buy 300 buses? Why is he hiding them? Why? I can't just understand this honorable man. My uncle, by the way, let me disclose that. I'm from Lofa County. I'm a Loma man, so he's my uncle. Interestingly, in Lofa County, it is the nephew that can say anything to the uncle. So I have the right to say when he's wrong, I will tell him he's wrong. He's not doing us good any good. People are ashamed today. Some people are now saying they want we are back. Can you imagine in 5 months' time, voters are saying, yeah, we want you back? It's nothing.
Okay, so let me hold you there now quickly and bring in other panelists. Like I told you, so a lot of people are now joining us. Alex Jones is joining us. We'd like to welcome our host, official, Dr. Henry Peabody on the show tonight. We'd like to welcome Lofa Julius. Like you know, we already got Madam Grace Gua and Mr. Caleb Ukonglu. I think we can begin with Madam Grace Gua. Madam Gua, can you go ahead? Thank you. I know you faced with the Liberian internet a little, it's shaking, but try.
Yeah, I faced with the Liberian internet a little, but so let me just come in, Mr. Zeze.
Zeze Zaza Jojo Oge.
No, I'm gonna call you. I like to pronounce Mr. Zeze. Before you started talking, find out who are you? Can you introduce yourself a little bit for us? So people can know who are we talking to.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you.
I was born in Feasible Town, migrated to Monrovia because there was no high school to go to Tottenham High. Can you imagine big county, you got only 7 high school. And went to Tottenham High, graduated. Went to the University of Liberia, graduated. Got job at finance. In fact, I worked with Honorable Sam Jackson. I worked with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, her honorable, when she was deputy minister. Later on, I left to work with Commerce as internal auditor. And then, of course, when I decided to expose the ghost payroll, I indirectly chased out. I went to work for NIC. When the coup took place, I I was fortunate to have been assigned as a secretary when the PRC was deciding to reacquire properties. And based on the summary I submitted, they asked me to help Honorable Kalongolu, may his soul rest in peace, she's dead, to assist him to organize the bureau, the first of its kind. We organized the bureau as a deputy. When he could not manage it, they asked me to serve in 1981, close to 82. By 82, when I realized that the PRC government was not serious, it was more about repeating mistakes of the past, especially when the kill was sent. Many of the progressives realized that this group, the PRC, was going to be worse off. And I resigned July 1982. By January 14, I was in the United States of America going to school. I went to the New School for Social Research. But by the way, I got BBA at the University of Liberia. I've done bookkeeping accounting at Tottenham High. Of course, took civil service test, I passed. I got a certificate. And then at the New School for Social Research, later on, I got my CPA, worked there from 1984 to November 7, 2016. I retired. I decided to come to Liberia and focus purposefully to rebuild our political party. I'm not here to work. I don't want to work. I just want to make sure to help to build the party and at least let the progressive people have a voice and ask people to think seriously about the way we're going, especially when it comes to revenue, which I will address later on. Thank you.
So then, December of 2022, I think you were chairman of the Liberian People's Party and you were suspended as national chairman. And they said that in the article I read, they said that you were consistently violating the laws and the constitution of the party. So can you elaborate a little bit more why that happened and whether you are back with the party? Is everything settled now?
Interestingly, many of the people who read that suspension didn't care to find out which of the constitution I violated. I mean, and the journalists in town, I mean, somebody say the man violated the constitution, asking where are the provisions that this individual violated. But we know what was happening, and I don't want to go into that, but I can tell you that they didn't have a case. I wrote a letter to the National Election Commission that they don't have a case. If anything, here are pages of the Constitution. And that was the end of that. Basically, they didn't have a case. And two, the law with the National Election Commission is if there are misunderstanding within the party, the grievance committee or some group of people should intervene. If resolution cannot be found, then the NEC can step in, which they did not do.
I think Grace got disconnected. I think
okay, Grace got disconnected.
The question is, were you suspended? I think the question is, were you suspended?
I have the authority to suspend me. No. And now I showed that to the NEC, that one, the assembling, because look, there are rules and regulations by the NEC. NEC is telling you before you can have a convention or Congress, you need to inform us 7 days before, and you need to advertise it in papers. You need to publish the information to the members and rank and file. Also, you need to have a member or a representative of the National Election Commission. None was done. We realized, and even before that, if I can say to you, they decided to do that in November 2022, when they insisted that if our presidential candidate and this chairman didn't assure them of certain things, they were not going to have confidence in the party putting a presidential candidate. That was their demand. And we just laugh at them because they didn't have the means to do that. And since they were unable to remove me, they decided to disrupt our activities. That's what it was about, just to disrupt us, that's all. They knew they didn't have the authority. And up to now, they don't.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zese. Mr. Gonglo, you like to come in?
What, I don't have a question for Chairman Zese, but I can make a brief comment, just to the effect of what some people may not know about the Liberian People's Party. I am a member of the Liberian People's Party, for full disclosure. I joined this party. I was one of the little guys in 1984. I remember I was in St. Mary's. I was in high school. My father was in 10th grade. And I was in Nima helping one Moses, one Sia, who was then the district coordinator for our district, to help canvass and collect names to sign for LPP. So I've been around LPP for quite a while. But there are some things I want to just flag out for the public to understand. There's a new political culture in the country where everybody is called political leader. LPP is a party that don't have political leader. Our constitution is very clear. If you go to election and you don't win, the standard bearer and the vice standard bearer become a non-voting member of the National Executive Committee. So, like in this case now, Councillor Gonglo and Dr. Imaya Pablo Ure they are member of the Executive Committee, but they don't have a voting right. They can participate in deliberation, but they don't control decision because they can't vote. Okay, so even when it came to the endorsement of the Unity Party, they didn't have a right to vote. They can only participate in the deliberation. So those are things for me I want to flag out, because sometimes people jump and say, they judge other political parties based on what is the structure of other political parties. They will say, hey, this party, the leader decides. In LPP, the leader does not decide. Everything is decided by vote, through a democratic process. So there are a lot of debates that take place in LPP. People disagree with their leader in our chat room. I see some people pounding the leader and some people take it. So I don't see that kind of dialogue in other political parties. For me, those are things I want to throw out there as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Lofa?
Well, Mr. Zese, welcome to the closing argument. Great to have you on here. I know it is scripted right beneath your name as the chairman, LPP chairman, but I did not hear you say that in your intro. So I'm assuming you are the chairman, and the reason I'm referencing it is because of the clarity that is being made by Kelly Bo. Are you still the chairman of LPP?
Yes, sir.
You are still the chairman of LPP. Great. Going back to the 2020, the recent elections, your party actually made a decision, with the exception of your political leader at the time, to support the now UP-led government. And I'm hearing you now saying you did not believe that President Boycott could get the job done. What was the decision? What was the influence in that decision when you all decided to support President Boycott? And now, in addition to that, just before you come in, you're also complaining that job is not being distributed to everybody, but your vice political leader, Emmanuel, is now working with the current UP government. Have you done any background inquiry and made some suggestions to him? First of all, what was the decision or the factor in that decision making when you decided to support President Boycott candidacy, and then the issue of the job distribution?
I think if you went through the press release, we made it clear there was no prior discussion, there was no arrangement, no alignment. We told you national interest was our focus. We wanted a peaceful transition. And that's why right after the election, we didn't hesitate, we didn't file complaint. Some of the political party leaders called me up to join them to sign a letter to go to the National Election Commission because they believe the election was not free and fair. We declined because for us, we want a smooth transition. And we felt also that Liberia was in coma. And the only way to help Liberia to rebound was to elect somebody other than George Weah. So the selection of Unity Party was not based on the fact that we're giving our support in order to get jobs. If they give us jobs, they feel that somebody is qualified, we can't say no. And by the way, Dr. Emmanuel K. Yuri Iyakbawul is one of the best to serve that EPA. See the efforts he has made so far, close to so many thousands of dollars. He listened to his announcement yesterday, finding so many companies. These companies been around for a long time. We didn't hear EPA director carrying in the court or asking them to pay fines into the coffers of the Liberian government. We didn't see that. It is this gentleman who has international recognition as somebody who got experience and achieved
experience in what? Experience in what?
Huh?
Experience in what? In EPA, he said? Experience in what?
Experience.
What?
Academic experience is different from actual working.
What? That's what I'm asking. That's why I'm asking for clarity. Experience in what?
I'm saying experience giving his academic achievement.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so, and he's the only one so far. And I don't think anybody in Liberia is training anybody to be an EPA director or EPA personnel besides those who work in our EPA area. Winston Tappet didn't have it. Surely. So I'm saying to you, he's one of the best. If you can name him 4 or 5 persons who are the best, I'll take up my hat to you, sir. But I'm saying to you, so his appointment was principally based on his qualification, not because he supported boycott. No. So we didn't make any arrangement. And 2, we didn't say we are coming there and thereafter we advise you. If they ask us to advise them, we do that. Even before the election, we work with the IPCC, the Interpolitical Party Council. There we exchange documents with them. I sent up a chart or some analysis of budget. I submitted to the group to see whether we could take it up. They didn't pay attention, especially when it came to the issue of the commercial bank borrowing $122 million in 1 year, and we didn't see where the money went. I insisted that we should call on the government and make a public statement and embarrass the government. Unity Party did not pick it up. We did that while we were working at the IPCC, not as an individual party, but we usually meet as political parties to see how best we can help a particular party, the ruling party, to move ahead. That's what we did. And CDC is a member of the IPCC. So those recommendations were not made in the absence of CDC. Molma Molu was there when I presented our paper, or those papers.
Thank you. So do we get 2 questions or just 1? Toga, can I ask my second question? You're muted. Okay.
I told you asked 3.
Oh, no, I asked 1. Don't even go there. So again, thanks for the clarity here, but a couple of things I want to point out really quick before I get to the issue. Well, my second question here is the fact that you mentioned experience, and then you spoke of his academic credentials. Now, I don't want us to conflict the two here, because you can have the academic credentials. The theory is one thing, but without the practical experience, I hate that people would just buck everything up and want us to believe that having the academic credential qualifies you for an experienced individual. I don't think that. I would like to disagree with that until I could be convinced that, just based on the theories, you have the practical experience to be successful. Nevertheless, if he's performing successfully, bravo to him, because I know Emmanuel Ure from Madison, Wisconsin. He's like brother to me. We ate at the same board pretty much, and know his family as well. So just to get that clear, he graduated from the University of Wisconsin, Madison specifically. To my second question, and you also made mention of the fact that your decision was based on your desire to remove President George Weah, because you felt like the country was again failing under the leadership of President George Weah. Thus far, considering the fact that you made a decision not based on the quality of individual that were presented to you, instead you simply wanted to get rid of an individual, especially for a person of your caliber with so much experience in the Western world. You weren't focused on how can you get a qualified candidate to come and represent the people of Liberia. Instead, your focus was on the removal of an individual. How do you feel as of now, based on the performance or the dismal performance of the government that you supported to come to power?
Chief, you saw that I think we had 18 presidential candidates. The Liberian poll came up with 2 to go for a runoff. So any other person was eliminated. Only the 2 persons were there. You either be Alexander Cummings and be neutral, or you be LPP and support one, or Ure to support CDC. We believe, and we still can go back and we'll do it all over again. If you bring us Buckeye today and George Weah today, I will still go for Honorable Buckeye. I have disagreement with him. Many times I appear on radio station, I criticize him. I will still criticize him, but comparatively, he's still better than Honorable George Manneh Weah.
Thank you.
Alex Jones.
Thank you, guys. Cesar, nice seeing you. It's been a while.
Thank you very much. It's been a while too.
Yeah, but thank you for your work. I read your article seriously, and you make a lot of good economic analysis and so forth. But my 2 questions. My first question is concerning your party web. I noticed that your party does not currently have a website. So most of the things that you are advocating is very difficult to find them in one place. So I hope that if you do, please share that link for people who are not in Monrovia or people who live outside the country that want to help, promote. I think it's a good idea. I do criticize a lot of parties and professionals, even the government, that is very irresponsible for you to not have in this modern age. So the next thing I want to ask is on the economy. You make a lot of analysis, but some things I do not see is proper recommendation. As you know very well, Liberia has one of the smallest GDP, one of the smallest per capita in Africa. A lot of people think there's change in the government, or perhaps even having a very good character, like, Councillor Tewan Gonglo, a very fine character man, that is a solution or having somebody in business would be the solution. So what I want you to do is please help our audience, particularly a lot of young people aspiring to politics, help first by telling us what are some of your recommendations to lift up our GDP and per capita, which is the only way you can solve poverty if someone has a job and is earning income. So can you please help us with some of your prescriptions, economic prescriptions, or the LPP prescription to do that? And perhaps if the government is listening, they will try to pick up, some of those things. And while you're doing that, also, I want you to also grade the economic performances of this and the previous government in comparison to other African countries like Gambia, like, Sierra Leone, so those are my two questions.
Thank you very much. And Jones is my good friend. A lot of times we're talking when I'm in the US. And I also follow your expose. Thank you very much for educating us. Just 3 days ago, a very important information came from the Liberian Revenue Authority. This was my first time that a government institution proposed or recommended that the government should establish a government entity to be mining and selling gold and diamond. In 2018 to 2022, I cycled it on my page, which some of us have been calling for. That look, the borders are porous, and it's going to be difficult to track down people who are smuggling the gold and diamond. Whereas if you have government involved along with the communities, you will be able to manage. Yes, some will be stolen, of course, yes, it's everywhere. But the quantity or value of gold that's smuggled out of Liberia is just significant. That's one way to raise your revenue. And in fact, I'm not saying this, it's the Liberian Revenue Authority that says that. We would do that. And two, I just talk about the issue of food. We might think that producing food might not increase our GDP, the real GDP. I'm not talking about the bloated nominal GDP proposed by the IMF. They left from 1.6 billion to 1 to 3 billion. How the data, I don't know. But I'm saying, just imagine if we start producing rice, cassava, potato, yam in the 15 countries. Start, in fact, breeding cows, sheep, goat, pigs, hog, and having meat in Liberia. Not only that you increase the diet, but you have something to sell. Why can we do that? Your population is small. Look, I was just looking at the rice production that Alfonso Yunan put out. Sierra Leone, 1.2 million metric tons. Liberia, 255,000 metric tons. Sierra Leone higher than what we're producing. We could increase our GDP from rice. And luckily for us, we got a lot of people who eat cassava. And we could increase the consumption of cassava in Lofa, Bong, Mangibi, Cape Mount, if we start encouraging the children to eat cassava, yam, potato. And by the way, I passed around some of the restaurants and I asked them, how come they don't sell cassava as breakfast in the morning? They said, well, when people eat cassava, they will not come back for rice, and rice is more profitable. So, but government, every time these days I go out, I tell my people, if you give me bread, I'm not going to eat it. Anything imported food, I'm not going to eat it. If we begin the campaign to eat our local food and begin to enforce it, we're going to shift our diet. That will help us to boost the production of food here. So you got gold and diamond, and you got food production. What's about the logs? Why, for example, the government can say, you know why? We're going to establish a factory to produce chairs, beds, doors, windows. Why we can't do that? That's not too much of an investment that we have to wait for some guy from China, Russia, the US. We can do that. Why government cannot invest in that? And by the way, you'll be creating employment in Grand Juda, so people don't have to migrate to Monrovia and build houses all between the streets and everywhere else, to the extent that the water can find its way, it flood into the homes and the streets. We can do that. So you got the logs, we collect our logs and ship the logs without making beds. We can make money there. We can make money from growing food. We can make money from diamond and gold, peanuts, potatoes. Look, I went to Feasible. Interesting, let me tell you, this was funny. I told my sisters and my relatives, I'm going to Feasible my time. I'm not going to carry any imported food. But I didn't know the true story. So they said, okay, leave me alone. In the morning, they told me, say, well, you have a car. Please go to the market and buy the food you want. Happily, I jumped into the car. I didn't find plenty in Feasible, my friend. I didn't find cassava. I didn't find banana. Interestingly, for planting, the Guineans travel in the bushes and they buy the planting and carry to a factory in Guinea. So you see, we can make biscuits from planting and cassava. Are we making biscuits? No. People who come to and visit Liberia and they don't see us growing food, they laugh at us. So can we encourage the government to begin to focus on food? I mean, see how much is put in the budget. 5 million, less than 1%. But we're bringing all the yellow buses where we don't have streets. The Ghanaians pack the yellow buses because they didn't build the streets for the yellow buses to pass through, to pass on. That's one of the reasons why they pack the buses. We leave from Gabriel Tucker Bridge and go to Freeport, no roads. So maybe the yellow buses will be traveling from, from Broad Street to Red Light and turn around right back and come. Meaning we are catering to the rich and the privileged, the elites. So yes, we can increase the GDP, the wood, the food, the diamond. Those three areas can help us increase the GDP. And I have written about that. A lot of time you see a recommendation, a lot of recommendation. We say, for example, increase the depreciation period from 3 years to 6 or 7 years. UNDP is using 7 years for depreciation, straight line depreciation. Why are we using 3 years? And we're buying cars every three years. Those who control the government have good ears for those who lending us money, because people who lend money want for you to spend more money on retreats, on cars, and gasoline. See the amount of money spent for gasoline. That's another area in terms of expenditure. You were focusing on GDP.
Okay, right. So can we get Alex's second question?
Yeah, thank you. You do a good job today, Toga. I'm very impressed. Thank you.
No problem. You can have
Mr. Zeze, a lot of Liberians would acquire a lot, but he's just intellectual disagreement. I like him. Mr. Zeze, another problem that I want to bring forward to the public is that we think that when a government gets a loan from the IMF or the World Bank, that is a good thing. You are CPA, you are one of the most brightest financial person in Liberia. Can you please speak to the public about the danger of the IMF programs, the structural adjustment programs, and things that have hindered a lot of economic growth which, by the way, some of the conditionality stop you from investing in agriculture and stop you from investing in industrialization that you talked about. So in our same question also, you were talking about rice production, why we couldn't do rice production and things, which I totally agree with, we can do that. But the central bank interest rate is also very high, and there's no facility for some of us who want to come and invest in those areas. So what can you say about it? What program the government could do, modeling on other, programs around the world? Thank you.
There are many speakers today. A lady from Nigeria told you what the World Bank is. I think I passed that video around. But you have to understand, the World Bank makes money when it lends money to the poor countries. I wrote another article, will the World Bank allow you to dig gold, to mine diamond? No, it's like a pawn shop. When you carry your goods to the pawn man, he doesn't want for you to redeem it because he makes more profit if he sells it. So equal to the World Bank, if you increase your revenue, you're not going to borrow money from them, right?
Sure.
If you have stability in a country, they will not need to borrow you money or to lend you money, and therefore they're not going to make money. So they want chaotic situation in order to be poor and borrow money from them for them to make money. In fact, I wrote another article in fact, a couple of friends and mine and I, we wrote a letter to the bank. We said, look, you can't be an advisor to Liberia, at the same time be lending money to Liberia. Where they argue, well, the International Finance Company, the International Development Association are separate institutions. They don't stay in the same room, and decide on what the advisors will tell Liberia, even though they're lending money, and do some of the money that grant they pay, there's a cost of a grant. It's not good for us. Everybody says that. Now in Liberia, everybody's aware. And in my mind, the World Bank is part of the reason why we broke. Better years, some of the NGOs, between my study, if you look on perspective, you find it, between 2012, 2013, to 2017, 2018, Philip Trumpets, peace-loving people, gave Liberia $5 billion cash. And in fact, within that money, $532 million was appropriated for rice production. And mind you, World Food Program said they gave River G $10 million in 2018, 2019. 10 million. But what happened to the 10 million? How come we don't see agricultural activities in River G? Better yet, how come the people are hungry if you give River G 10 million? So you see, they are there to make money. And if they have to make money, they have to tell you to buy cars and depreciate for 3 years, because when you do that, you have to go to them and borrow money. You better allow the lawmakers to go for a retreat and give them $563,000 that should have been given over 12 months. Mind you, they gave the money in June. So by right from January to May, that money portion of that $563 should have elapsed. That's the PFM law. If you don't use money, if you appropriated to buy chairs in January, to go to a restaurant in January, to travel in January, if you didn't travel, you don't have access to that money anymore. But Boycott signed it. Now I'm wondering, why did he sign it? Is he giving money to these guys in order to ask them for favor tomorrow? I don't know. So you see, we voted for Boycott, but we have to help him to do the right thing. We have a moral duty to advise him for him to succeed. That's our moral responsibility.
So thank you. We'll go to Dr. Peabody, and then we have another round from everybody. But Dr. Peabody.
Mr. Chairman Yanguet says that good to see you. Good to see you.
Welcome to the call tonight.
Thank you, sir.
You are making a case here today against the current government. They've been in power like 6 months. What do you expect them to perform miracle?
Is that the question, sir?
Yeah, I said the government had just been in power for 6 months. You supported them, all right? Let me reframe it. Is it because they didn't give you a position in the government that why you're coming out this early?
Maybe you were not here when I told your colleagues I'm going to be 70 by November 7th. And I think it's just fair when you owe enough, step aside for the young folks to work. No, I'm not looking for jobs, sir.
Fair point. But then
let's go back to the question. If it is too early, are you telling me it's too early that the budget they prepared, they couldn't include the correct loan that they borrow instead of 55 million? Why they didn't report 296 million? That's the loan they're borrowing for the year. When you're projecting and you say the loan you're going to borrow, you don't put a lower amount, you put a correct amount. Or better yet, are they in a way trying to increase revenue because they borrow the money, but they inflicted the revenue and the money they borrow is going to be used to replace the shortfall in revenue? Because look, for example, Ellen did that. In 2005, 2006, it was only 83 million. By 2006, 2007, she increased it to 148 million without explaining where the additional $65 million came from. And mind you, 69% of our revenue comes from what I call user tax, or taxes, SI taxes, duties, wherever. They're not from production, they're not dividend, they're not because you're selling assets. It's every time you bring goods from overseas, you pay taxes. Mistakenly or not, intentionally, they tell you if the big tax that we pay, they call it international trade. That's not international trade. Those are taxes that we get from the pockets of the individuals. So, I mean, what was wrong with doing the right thing? What was wrong? Wasn't it wrong to ask for $80,000 when he was not president? Is that something that wait for 5 months? Was it wrong to say, hey, if I'm going to buy the 285 yellow machines, I should contact the lawmakers and tell them why I want to buy the 285 yellow machines? Is that something that will wait for 5 months? If you're going to, for example, say you want to travel, you must use a jet plane. Should we wait for 9 months before we can tell you don't use a jet plane? Come on. Those are simple things. We should wait for 9 months before we tell you should go to meeting of ECOWAS and AU and stop traveling, go to African countries who are better off protecting you. You remember what happened during the Civil War? America did not come to our aid. It was people from West Africa. Has he visited them? No. And we have to wait for 10 months to tell you that? His own law promise of inclusion. The last 2 appointments he made these few days. My good friend and brother, Jimmy Fumaya from Lofa, Massaquoi from Lofa. Why? Uno Lofa post you accept jobs or should get jobs or Lofa citizen? He promised that. He followed 10.2 of the law. The law states that one cabinet should come from one county if it's practicable. But what is he doing? Giving the jobs to people who got it. Now look at the party leaders. They're all rushing to get jobs. The chairman, former chairman, Commerce, current chairman, NPA, former secretary, Water and Sewer, current secretary, LPRC. Instead of sticking around to help the president to implement the policy that they voted on, they go and look for jobs. And you say we shouldn't say anything about that. No, we would say you have the right to criticize. Oh, we invite you to do so too.
All right. Let me move ahead with my second question, Chairman Zizé. Do you have any kind of agriculture investment in Liberia?
I personally know, sir.
Okay, but you are proposing, you are saying this is what the government needs to do, and you're not going to eat bread. You're not, but yet and still you don't have any kind of agriculture investment in Liberia on your own to be an example for the Liberian people to follow. So you know what? I don't eat bread. I grow my own bread. I bake my own bread. I grow my own food. I grow everything here. But there's not an example. You know, if I wanted to follow your example, I would love to do that. I eat things that only made in Liberia. I love it. In fact, I frown on people who even continuously play foreign country music other than their own music. You go to all the Liberian churches, you go to all the Liberian function, all you hear is this foreign music from different African countries, and we don't show the appreciation for our, I frown on that. Even the inauguration of President Bouakai, I was not happy to hear foreign music being sung there. I expected to hear traditional Liberian song, different song being sung there. But let me just end here on my question. So what is the position of the LPP at this time on President Bouakai, early corruption, what all is going on? You said that you're 70-year-old, but you didn't say you decided to vote for an 80-year-old man. You know you can't work. You say you don't want a job at 70, but you want to give an 80-year-old man a job. That's about 2 or 3 questions.
Like I said, it was a choice of having somebody there who practically has carried Liberia into a coma to keep him there, versus trying the old man who's been around for 40 years to see whether he would give us an opportunity to do something better. I mean, a lot of people concluded the way George Weah and his folks were going, how we made a mistake and gave them the second and last chance to George Weah. I don't want to imagine what will happen to us. I mean, somebody dancing, go to the grave and build a security net. Somebody telling you, if I steal and invest the money in Liberia, that's not a crime. I mean, if somebody says that to you and you think it's okay, then I don't understand. Corruption is corruption. When you see it's stealing, for somebody to say, I stole the money, but I built a house here, people are benefiting, it's okay. I cannot hear that. Or somebody say, don't worry about investing in school. In fact, book is not good. People who are educated are the people who support the country. Is that true? I mean, you hear remarks like that. And people telling you experience. I remember when the Honorable Minister of Finance, Samuel Twell, when he started, he said that, oh, forget about planning. We got too many proposals. Let's just take one. And I commented on it. I wrote an article on it. I said, wow, a proposal I written 2-3 years ago, you're telling me you're going to use it without even adjusting it, and therefore nobody should look at another proposal, and you're not going to propose your own planning? I mean, that's the kind of people you're talking about. Forget about the U.S. sanction. I'm not worried about that. I worry about what these people are saying, that book is irrelevant. I saw him putting money in a lot of sporting activities or facilities, but I didn't see him building Tottenham High type school in Nuku Town. I didn't see that because he told me school is irrelevant. So yes, he's 80 years old, but I'm convinced how we made a mistake and gave George Weah a second time and final year. We are being in trouble, my friend. The budget grew, the debt. Ellen Kim total debt was $687 million. When George Weah ended, it's $2.2 billion.
Exactly.
And you're telling me it's okay? And that's the debt that we know. We don't know what else is out there. We don't know whether domestic debt are calculated and included into the debt that they reported to us. We don't know that. We don't know how many people they owe out there. The old newspapers, the old radio stations, they're not paying. Let me stop there.
Okay.
Sir.
Thank you, sir. Prof. Larry Kennedy, let's welcome you also to the show tonight. We got the chairperson of the Liberian People's Party, Mr. J. Yankwe Sese, on the show tonight. The presidential candidate for that party in 2023 was Councillor Gonglo. So he's on the show. They've written a document or a press statement that they've released to the public, focusing on the achievements of the part of the 100 days deliverable of the government. They talk about some of the missteps of the government, and I think they also drafted some way forward. One of them, they're looking at they welcome the Executive Order 131 on the establishment of War and Economic Crimes Court. They also commended the government 100 days deliverable as it relates to road work across the country. They also commended the government's effort thus far by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Environmental Protection Agency, Water and Sewer, LRA, and wanting them to take steps in their respective areas. Some of the missteps, they talk about formation of inclusive government. And I think they're talking about, the LPP notes with reservation that 8 counties have no representation in the cabinet. Senator Amara Kona recently added his voice to the issue of inclusion. The GSA Director General, Honorable Makotima, speaking to a group of Lofa citizens, said about 60 to 70% of the current government senior positions are occupied by Lofa County citizens. They talk about violation of the public financial management law. Prof. Kennedy is always talking on issues of finance. The Bwaka administration violated the PFM law of 2000. Now we requested and received 80,000 in US dollars. I think it should be more than 80,000 for the National Social Security. I think I'm talking about it should be over 500,000. That's about the PFM law. They're talking about key priorities and concerns of the LPP. So those are the issues that the LPP just raised, but also note that the LPP formed a partnership in the second round with the Unity Party to defeat George Weah. Their vice presidential candidate is today the head of the Environmental Protection Agency. So amidst all of this, they also still checkmating the government. Prof. Kennedy, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for that, Toga. I want to just touch on 2 things real quick. I think Alex started by asking a very important question, but before I even jump on that, let me jump on something real quick that Toga just mentioned. So, Mr. Sese, why is the 100 days deliverable important?
Well, they deliver it. They said 100 days, those were the deliverables, and we decided to go through it to see what he said as some of the things he promised. For example, inclusion. Within 100 days, he appointed people. Also, the issue of corruption. Look at some of the candidates he appointed. For example, Cooper Crow, Councillor Cooper Crow, who was investigated by the Supreme Court and was indicted, but he selected the man to go to the Justice Ministry.
But I understand your criticism, but so if someone doesn't deliver within 100 days, what does that say about that person? Does it say that the administration has failed, or what's the purpose of the 100 days?
Well, somebody said something I just remember before coming here. They said that usually when we see Christmas coming, we look at the eve, then we see whether Christmas is going to be good or not. So we're just looking at the eve. If see some of the things we're doing now. After our speech, what did he do? He signed a check, $563,000, an appropriation for 12 months, but to be paid, to be used in 3 days. Is that good for Liberia? Mind you, and violating the PFM law. I just said to you, the appropriation for 12 days, the PFM law is saying, when you don't use money for a certain period, that money is not for you anymore. They didn't use part of that money from January to May. That portion of the $563,000 should not have been used at all. Then 2, you don't give advance payment from July to December of that 583,000, 63,000. That's advance payment. You have not gone to a restaurant. You have not driven to your constituents. You have not rented hotels. You already given the money to the people. That's a violation of the PFM law. Shouldn't we talk about that?
Well, I was just talking about 100 days, but you answered the question. Yeah, so I want to jump to another question real quick so we can move on. The whole 100 days thing, it started in the U.S. where I think Theodore Roosevelt, because they were passing a lot of laws at that time, it just kind of shows how effective the government is. But that's another story. Alex started a great question. You talk about prescription, right? One thing people are good at, right? People are very good at criticizing. Everybody knows all of the solutions to Liberia, but how do you get to the solutions is what we can't seem to get that answer out of people. So Alex started the question, and I want to follow up on what he said. So we know that to create jobs in Liberia, you need to boost, like what Alex was saying, the total productivity in the country. We know the factors of production, things like land, labor, entrepreneurship, all those things, then you need them in the country in order to boost productivity. But the key element that you need is capital. Based on the prescription that you suggested early on when you were talking, you talk about agriculture, you talk about gold, you talk about all the different minerals, right? Where do you get the capital to buy the machinery to do agriculture? Because bear in mind now, Alex also mentioned the debt that Liberia holds. You also mentioned the debt. Liberia is in serious debt. Liberia has no credit rating with the big credit reporting agencies that all the other African countries are using. Not all of them. I think out of the 16 ECOWAS, maybe 4 or 5 has credit ratings, which is Fitch, Investor Services, Moody's, Standard & Poor's. Liberia has no credit rating. Where does Liberia get the money in order to buy the machinery to boost the factors of production and create jobs? What is your plan for that to raise the capital?
If you look in the budget again, the government promised to borrow $296 million.
But I'm not talking about the government. I mean, what is your suggestion? What is your solution? Not the government. Because remember that the budget, over 90% of it is recurring expenditure. So very little is left to go to actual productivity. What is your recommendation to raise the money?
No, I'm just saying to you, you're saying it's difficult to borrow money. I say, no, we are prepared to borrow $296 million. And
from where?
Mainly, I think, coming from the World Bank, from my study, IDA, International Development Association.
Liberia is in an extended credit facility, the ECF program. You don't have that much bandwidth to borrow more money from the World Bank because you're in the ECF program, right? So the World Bank is not a place you can go to start raising more money to borrow. So you're saying the solution is to go to the World Bank?
No, I'm saying to you, the government, if you go on the finance website and you look for the debt document, you see that they have they call it deficit financing. The deficit financing is $296 billion, but the government reported only $45 million. I did send out a letter that wrong. In fact, I'll send to the Ministry of Finance. If you go there, you see it. So I'm saying to you, forget about even the $296 million. If you just restructure your budget, you can find money to invest in at least factory to be making beds, woods, doors, chairs, windows. You can find money for that. That's not too expensive.
Mr. Zizi, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but I think the question is, what is your solution? What is your solution? Not what the government is doing right now. Your party, LPP, you actually asked to be provided power. What was your solution that you were going to provide to this problem we're experiencing? What is your solution? Share with us. That is what I believe Professor Kennedy is asking here. What is your solution?
That is correct.
But I'm saying to you, as a political party, as an individual, you do not have the credibility to borrow any money. Only the government can do that. You know that, right?
If you were the government,
because institutions are aware that if you don't pay the money, they got other way to get the money from you. But you don't have a collateral as an individual. A political party, you don't have the collateral to borrow money on your own. But if you are in a government, you can.
I want to move it on to the next guy. So let me just say something real quick before I move it on. So the whole deficit financing thing, a lot of countries do that, right? When you have a budget shortfall, you can't leave that negative balance on your books. So you have to borrow the money to close the deficit, right? In the past, the central bank was financing the deficit that Liberia was raising, and the World Bank, not the World Bank, the IMF told them that's a no-no. You can't have the CBL doing deficit financing. In the US, when the budget always comes up short. When the budget comes up short, the US Treasury goes to the capital markets, right, and they borrow the money to close the gap. You don't have that capacity in Liberia because you don't have credit. People come on and they talk about all the fancy things they can actually do, but the one thing they keep missing is where do you get the money? When over 90% of your budget goes to recurring expenditures, you don't have a lot of bandwidth. You don't have a credit score to borrow money. You can't keep running to the IMF because you're in the ECF program. You can't keep running to the World Bank because you also do not have credit. So it sounds easy when you're on the outside and you're saying, oh, we can do farming, but you need machinery to do the farming. We can build roads, but you need money to build the roads. And then again, you have the population growing at a rate of over 2%, which means you talk about it earlier, how Monrovia, everybody running to Monrovia because the jobs is there. But how do you take jobs to the rural area if you don't have the capital? But I want to move it on. I don't want to hijack the program. Let me give it over to Toga before I get sanctioned. So go ahead.
Quickly, let's look at Boca. He was able to negotiate for 285 yellow machines. A government can do that. So I'm sure if LPP came to power, in fact, we will have a better credit.
We don't know how he actually did it.
But I'm just saying to you, as a government, you have the possibility of negotiating for a loan. As an individual, you can't do it. For example, you're going to get 300 buses from Ghana. The government, how did he do that? Is it possible somebody give it free? Maybe. Is it possible he giving it because of Wologisi Mountain? Maybe. But I can tell you, if LPP was to be given the power, we will reduce some of the unnecessary expenditure. I sent a budget out there. In one of the areas that got non-financial asset, it will increase from 30 million to 154 million. For what? Mind you, we also had an arrangement with the central bank. The arrangement was signed in December 2019 that we will begin paying our $487 million in 2029. Why are we now paying the money? Why? So those are areas you can look to and say, look, there's money here. We're not going to use it. We agreed that we're not going to pay the central bank until 2029. Look in the document I sent to you, or better yet, look in the 2019 audited financial statement, not the central bank annual report. The central bank audited financial statement, look for 2019 and go to page 65. You'll see that page there. The government of Liberia and the central bank agree that Liberia owes the central bank $487 million, but the government will begin paying that debt in 2029. But the government is continuing to insist that they got to pay the domestic debt. Why? So that's where you can get money from. And let me just remind you, I introduced that in an IPCC meeting along with CDC, that this is an area we can force the government to begin to stop paying the money and use that money for some of the projects we're talking about.
Thank you, sir. So from your statement you put out there, you were practically trying to link the whole issue of what I could coin Lofa Das and the government by Boakai, but you were linking it to other people that have been speaking about it. What is your position that almost 70 to 80% of Boakai's administration is made out of people from Lofa. What is LPP of Councillor Gonglo's position on this?
But we just said what was Boakai position? He says his government is going to be inclusive. That's not inclusion government. If most of your people, I just told you, the two of the
even with your fast standard bearer in, it's not inclusive.
Well, in
how
fact,
many slots did you request?
By the way, most of the position went to Lofa and Bon County, and he from Bon County, so it's not good anyway.
So how many slots you requested?
We have never requested for any slot. All we did, our partisan said they want a job. We say, fine, bring a resume. We carry the Boakai, these are the resume. Look in it. If you can find somebody that you want, you call the person up, period. But we didn't say you have to employ people. No, we don't do that because our negotiation was not based on any particular issue, whether job or anything. No, we went for the sake of the country. We supported Honorable Boakai because we believe George Weah did not mean well for Liberia. That was the decision.
You think just one minute quickly, Lofa. Just 1 minute. So, but you think most of your partisans actually deserve these jobs with their CVs they submitted, but they did not get these jobs?
No, we don't decide that. It is the employment agency. It is Dr. Boakai or Honorable Boakai who will decide who he wants. We're not negotiating. All we did was to say, okay, look, we sent CVs in like anybody else. They are individuals. They have the right to apply for a job. That's all. Nothing else more than that.
Yeah, Lofa, you wanted to chime in? Yeah.
I just wanted to get quick clarity here. When you posed the question, I think Mr. Zizi said their partisans, they asked their partisans to bring their resume. They took their resume and deliver it. Did you take your partisans' resume and deliver it, or you instructed them to go through the employment process, like go and submit your resume to the agency's website and consider the employment process? Instead, you took their resume and walked with it to where it needed to be, or handed it, or mailed it, wherever. Is that what you did? Just for clarity purpose. I mean, I hope not to misunderstand. Did you take the resume?
In our chat room, you visit our chat room. Yes, we said that we would do that. The best thing we can do for our people is to.
So you took your partisan's resume and went and wow. And you think that was and as a government in waiting, you thought that was the best process to follow.
But we submitted a resume. It is in no way indication that we are demanding for a job, if that's the implication you want to put forward, sir.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that the process.
No, I'm just saying, don't jump to that conclusion.
Listen, guys, I can also help the chairman on this matter. I mean, because I'm an LPP or partisan, so I'm sitting down quietly. I'm not talking.
Okay.
You know, presidential appointment is a privilege. It's not a right, because in any given country there could be 100,000 qualified persons for the same job. So presidential appointment is a prerogative of the president. It's not something that is advertised in newspaper to say the president is about to appoint the minister of justice, so we are asking lawyers to submit resume. No. So I think the process, what I saw in the chat room was, in fact, Dr. Yuri Yakwalu was the one who made the announcement, because he was on the, how to call it, a transitional committee also. So they went to a meeting, and he said, oh, in the meeting, this is what has been proposed, that each collaborating party in the second round should submit names, resume of qualified partisans who can be considered to work in the government. And he was very clear.
I think Mr. Zizi want to correct you on something.
Yes, I think, sir, what you're referring to was the transitional team.
Okay, yeah, the transition. Well, I said the transition.
The transitional team, but he made it clear. He made it clear.
It was not a guarantee.
Your acceptance as a candidate for the transitional team is not a guarantee that you're going to get a job. Don't think that you're working there is going to lend you to a job. He said that clearly, and in fact, he wrote a statement on it. And some people even argue that, well, you were not very clear, so therefore you promised a job. We say no, we didn't promise you. It was clear, and Dr. Boyka or Honorable Boyka made that clear that working for the transitional team does not guarantee you any job, and we accepted that. But people felt that, hey, if I can be there, it's possible to rub shoulder and maybe know somebody, and later on I can appeal. That's what the purpose. That was the purpose. That's what most of them were applying.
Wow. Kelbo, you got anything to say?
Excuse me?
No, I was Kelbo. Nothing. Okay.
No, Kelbo, I'm sorry. No, but the interesting thing is that, you know, at this crucial point, like Tato Peabody was saying, within 6 months, you're already questioning the government, though you are a part of the government, I would say. The second highest ranking of your party is a senior member. I think his position is equivalent to a cabinet position in the government. So in the worst case, most of your partisans could actually, you know, get some slots right within the EPA. EPA is a very large sector. And, you know, right now we're talking climate change around the world. There's that EPA supervises all the kind of stuff. So EPA is a very big sector. Now, people would think within 6 months, when you're questioning and criticizing the government and some of the happenings, many people would think like others are doing, is because you're unhappy with the employment opportunities that you have been giving your partisans that haven't been giving them. You know, what do you have to say about this?
People will have their views, but we have to follow the principles that we believe in. We are saying to you, and one of the reasons why we criticize Boyka, let's look at education, which people don't want to talk about. Sierra Leone allocates close to 22% of the budget to education. We allocate 15%. In fact, in 2024, we appropriated 105 million. In 2025, we brought it down to 104 million. In 2026, 101 million. Compare the appropriation for BWI, Todma High, and ZTI. These are training schools where you have productive citizens to be trained. Compare that to the money allocated for National Social Security. You say we shouldn't talk about that because somebody is employed? We can tell any of our members, if you think because you have a job, we don't criticize, we can tell you goodbye. Go to the party you want to stay with. And that's why some of us are here as chairman of the party and the standing bearer, a former standing bearer of the party. We will guide this party based on our principles, not because somebody wants a job or not because somebody has a job. Everybody is aware that our principle will continue to be preached, irrespective of who is employed or who is seeking for a job. It's not going to stop us. Let that be clear. Anybody, and they are aware. A government that is speaking about improving the educational system, buying books. Walk down. I have walked down, from my area. I live around Camp Bethesda, all the way to City Hall, just finding out how many public high schools government has built. Mind you, in Boyka platform, they stated that during the 12 years, they built 300 schools. I want to find out, where are the schools? Look, if you are in Liberia, you will be depressed. Look at the graduates. See their performance. Look at the schools. People who own schools, you regret to see the owners of schools. In my area where I live, there's a football field. The children play football every Thursday, whole day. Why? That's their research. We used to have 30 minutes to 1 hour for recess, but they have a whole day, and they insist on it. The students tell the owner of the school, if you don't give us a day, we will not come to your school. And because the owner of the school want to at least meet his break-even point, cost equal revenue, he or she is forced to give the day out. That's the kind of situation we have here, my people. And when a government that has been around, or individual who has been around for all these years, and is aware of that, and appropriating money that is insufficient, or not giving money to BWI or vocational schools, and you say you're not going to criticize it until after 6 months, I don't understand that. I'm not going to do that. My party will not do that. As we plan now, we're going to take issue with him. Let's look at Metal Steel, Bear Mountain. I just posted 3 pages on my Facebook page for 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2029. Metal Steel did not fulfill giving the $3 million to Nimba, Bong, and Bassa. Why? And I'm appealing to the Nimba people, don't leave the issue to the ordinary citizens who are protesting. I'm calling on all the lawmakers who ran on our ticket to take the issue of Metal Steel serious. We don't need the devil them to come out. Let those who are saying they want to change society get in the forefront, write letters to the senators of Nimba County. And of course, you have a vice president for Nimba County, write him. Metal Steel promise. The report from LEITI, Liberia Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative for 2016 all the way to 2020, Metal Steel did not pay the $3 million per year. Where did the money go? If the company gave it, did somebody else take the money? And we see this kind of transaction. Go to LAMCO. LAMCO in 1975, 1976, they had 15 million and 9 million. We had 50% in LAMCO. What happened to the share of the dividend for the government? Where did the dividend go? And check in LEITI. Is there any dividend reported for Metal Steel to the government? I didn't see it. Maybe I don't know how to check. But what happened? We had 30%, 15% share. How come? What happened? Can the citizens of Nimba, potential citizens of Nimba, take that cost? Because if you generate a lot of money from Metal Steel, you will overcome some of the issues that you have. I'm challenging.
Yes, I think we can go back to Alex Jones. I think, yes, okay. So we can go back to Alex Jones. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Toka. Chairman Zeze.
Wow. I think Kelebu is a member of the party, so I'm not giving him too much time.
Yeah, Kelebu don't need to talk. He's in the party.
Kelebu say he want to talk. Kelebu
is party. After Alex Jones, I'm going to speak. Yeah.
That's my time. I'm telling you.
Exactly.
Chairman Zeze, Kelebu is very proud of you.
Mr. Sise also comes from more like a financial background. So I think Ellis Jones and Professor Kennedy have been giving some financial punches, and they can all understand that language. That's the reason. Go ahead, Ellis.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Kelebu is very proud of you, Mr. Zeze. I can see that. I can see that. Because when the minister on here, he forget against the public web minister. But anyways, here's my question.
Well, the man
and that question I want to direct it. I want to make a quick comment, direct the question to you and Professor Larry, since it's a finance question. One is before I go to that question, I think I communicated to you a military guy who is currently going through labor failure right now. He served the country very well. And I'm asking you and Councilor Gongolo to please, on his behalf, to reach out to me. And also, Toga, you guys in Liberia, to please help this young man. I was seeing the information too. He served in different parts of the country. He's dying. So I wanted to just make that point. I don't know his name. I don't know him personally, but somebody sent it to me, and he's currently in the hospital dying, and there's no insurance. He doesn't have money. and he's an active duty member. But I want to go back to what Larry was saying about the raising money in Liberia. My own observation and my own disappointment, Chairman Zeze, is that we have a lot of Liberian expert financial people. That I can attest to, because I used to run a program which Professor Larry was a part of, the Business and Economic Forum, that brought together some of the best, most qualified Liberian bankers, finance, all of them interested in working in Liberia, going back and even working here, teaching, all this stuff. But the political parties, unfortunately, and most of the politicians are not welcoming. They don't make any attempt to reach out to some of us who could provide solutions. You talk about policies, you talk about agriculture, you talk about gold mining. Those things require financing, as Larry said, and require management. If you don't know how to manage, then you get a Tottenham High, which is now a very good school with a lot of smart teachers, but they don't have the facility. You get a University of Liberia, it's same problem today. You can't manage the transportation, your situation, even though the children are paying some money there. And even though it's one of the oldest university in Africa, if not the oldest. So our problem, and I don't know how you and Professor Larry see it, is the lack of management outside of government. Lastly, our banks in Liberia, we have about 9-10 banks in Liberia. Okay. All of those banks, besides 2 banks, I think IB Bank and LBDI Bank. And even the LBDI Bank, most of the shareholders are foreigners. Okay. All our banks, the other major banks, of which all our BB people then today in Liberia got their money in, is controlled by foreigners. You very well know, and Professor Larry knows, nobody turns the banking institution over to foreigner. Even in the United States here, if you have a bank, Chinese bank, it has to be ran and managed by a U.S. citizen. The chief financial officer has to be probably a U.S. citizen or a resident. You can't take your money, because one of those banks can fail in Nigeria, and they can file bankruptcy in Nigeria, whether it's Echo Bank or UBI or one of them, and that's it. All your money gone. And all your money already being transported to those countries' shareholders. Why? So my question is, why we guys are trying to elect good people, which will be some time, and change and provide policy? Why don't you guys try to work with the Liberian business finance people to start to look for outside financing to do some of these projects, whether it's agriculture projects, as a party? That's my question. And Larry, we do get some financing according to the budget they have from the central, from other institutions like the African Development Bank. I've seen here we borrow Central Bank $90 million for this year. That's what the commercial bank, we got promissory note. We got money from a lot of, I will put it in the chat, a lot of government of China. All these are all loans, debt. So we can borrow. We've been borrowing. So why can we, go to the private sector? For example, we have a New York Stock Exchange. It's not part of the United States government. Why don't we have an exchange like Ghana, Kenya, Ethiopia, in Liberia, supported by Liberian bankers, financial people like yourself? That's the only question I've asked. So I can turn over.
Well, quickly, let me just talk about stock exchange. I think one of my big brothers asked me the last time, they said, why would we have a stock exchange? I said, in Lufa, we used to have the market day, right? The surrounding towns gather in one market, and there's a market day in that town. Everybody brings his or her goods to sell. The question you ask yourself, how many companies in Liberia can even file their financial statement publicly for people to know whether they are viable, whether they are profitable? How many do you have? Metal Steel is owned by a parent. So actually, if you go on the internet, Metal Steel as an entity in Liberia doesn't file. The parent file. So it's Bear Mountain. Firestone, the same thing, is owned by BF Courage. Go to Lone Star, is reported, I think, as a partnership. It doesn't file. Go to Orange, it's reported as an investment because I checked the parent company, so it doesn't file. The public state entities, LPRC, LPMC, Water and Sewer, long ago, they should file their financial, they should publish their financial statement. These days, it's difficult to find it. I just contacted somebody from NASCA, for example, and I raised issues with them. They said, oh, the file. I said, but the information, the Freedom of Information Act law requires all public or state-owned entities to publish their financial statement, including cash, whatever they have. Today, you don't know how much cash NASCA got. So if you want to establish a stock exchange, where are the companies that are selling stocks in the first place in the market, for you to have a platform where people can come and exchange their stocks and bonds? Where? You need firstly to have people who are selling, and then you can create a platform for them to come there and sell, because that's the market will sell. But how many companies have, or better yet, how many companies in Liberia have more than 200 employees? How many? I don't know. Go in a central bank report and see the companies that are producing. So you go to Ghana, of course. Ghana, I just told you, they have a company that is involved in producing diamond and gold. They got a lot of companies that are producing cars. Like the guy from Brazil with the 300 buses. He brought his own business there, so he can sell shares. So we don't have that. Go to the central bank. Most of the money government borrowing from the central bank doesn't own it. Those are money from the commercial banks. That's why a lot of time commercial banks run out of money. Because if you go to section 52 of the central bank law, when the central bank has kept money for certain reasons, that these says the remaining should be sent to the government within less than 90 days. So actually, the central bank is a subsidiary of the government, and if the central bank makes profit, it belongs to the government. The government doesn't own, the central bank doesn't own itself. It's the government. The government invested in central bank. So most of the money you see, I remember in 2016, the government of Liberia was already indebted to the central bank of $260 million. Look in the IMF report, you see it there. By 2018, it was $355 million. But where did that money come from? It came from the commercial banks. And if you look on 2018 financial statement of IB, they lend money to the government when they saw $18 million notes they bought from the government. So we really don't have money in Liberia. Most of the banks are broke. Yeah, IB has a lot of money. And one will wonder, a company that was established in 2006 has more cash now than even the IBDI or LBDI. Why? I don't know. We can find that out. But I'm saying to you, we don't have that much money in Liberia. Yes, it's a good idea for us to contact some of the investors, some of the entrepreneurs, some of the big business people. But if you're not part of us, it's good. Maybe we can link with you and see whether we can have a rice producing machine in what's the planning in Grand Jida, or maybe a factory to make wools. We can have that. Now that I've heard you, Honorable Jones, I will contact you. So yes, we are willing to work with people who have money to invest in Liberia. We'll be searching for them, truly and truly.
Okay, so we'll go to Mr. Gunglo, then Professor Kennedy. But I think in your statement, you also talk about this 200 plus yellow machines. So I guess when Mr. Gunglo is speaking, you can wrap all those into it. Mr. Gunglo, please.
Yes, thank you. I don't have much to say on this. I just wanted to go back on a few of the issues that maybe I noticed some of few of the panelists try to ask, or particularly Lofa Julius. This whole thing about endorsement is not an equivalence of membership in your political party. In our country, when we have a binary choice, just like in the United States today, you have Joe Biden and Donald Trump, two, choices that many people may not want to go with. You have one choice, you either remain silent, but that does not mean the United States will not have president. So our party, LPP, took a decision when it came to a binary choice between Unity Party and Unity and CDC, that, hey, we can go one. It didn't mean that LPP was joining Unity Party. They did not sign an agreement. We have no formal contractual agreement, nothing. Okay? It was through the National Executive Committee, through a vote. A vote was taken. Whether the chairman agreed with the vote or not, once his side was defeated, that vote was announced and the party won with it. Our party is a party that has principle and will live by that principle. This is why we waited for the 100 days. After the 100 days, the executive committee took a decision that our honeymoon with the Unity Party was the call upon was 100 days. From moving forward, the excesses, the missteps are increasing. We are going to speak to the public. And that's what LPP is doing. So we hold no responsibility for the missteps of the Boakakun administration. We hold no responsibility for that. I, as a partisan, strongly feel today, and as I did then, that the Unity Party and the CDC are the parties of corruption in Liberia. We are dealing with poverty, with corruption. Yes, some will argue that it predated then, I agree. But corruption and poverty have increased under the leadership of the two parties. Okay? So I still hold that view, but CDC was just way off the mark in terms of governing philosophy. Okay? So the party decided on that, and I wanted to just re-emphasize that endorsing the Unity Party does not give us the responsibility to shoulder the missteps of the Boakakun administration. No, I disagree with that mindset.
Oh, so
don't you think that's a debatable statement?
Wait. So
we can debate this, but the chairman is here, and that is his platform. That's his day. I don't want to take
maybe I think Mr. Gonglo was addressing me. If you give time, I will. But if not,
yeah, please, before Professor Kennedy, quickly.
Listen, before I can add this, before Lofa made his comment, I will give the example which is practical. If Lofa Julius, you may live in a particular community, you may know about a particular woman. That woman may have some baggage or whatever. If you go closer to that woman, otherwise, and that woman start messing and you leave, it doesn't mean you made her to be doing what she's doing. Yeah.
Luma, go ahead, please. Luma, go ahead.
Let me just stay for the record.
Almost struggling for defense. That
yeah, boy, he flattered women or narrative or analogies.
Why get be men?
Right, it be men,
I
right?
don't know how something graphic I can stick on people's mind.
Don't be misogynist.
Okay, so let me just say.
If you permit me, can I just go real quick so I can listen to the rest of the
Yeah,
I have another meeting.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to ask two short questions to the LPP folks. So, Mr. Thornton, you mentioned that you guys didn't have any formal written document supporting or pledging the party, but would you agree that
contract with this sound paper?
Contract, right?
Statement, yeah.
Got you. But would you agree that you can also have a verbal contract where you agree to do something? It doesn't necessarily have to be written.
Yes.
It's
Thank
true.
you. I didn't say written. I'm saying to you, in any
No,
shape
not
or
you.
form.
Not you.
No,
Mr. Bongo
not
said
you.
that.
It's
No,
your
not you.
partisan.
No, I'm
No,
sorry.
Mr. Bongo said you didn't have a written.
Professor,
So I want to know if a verbal contract is also enforceable. Can you say, look, Doc Peabody, I'm going to agree to do this if you agree to do that? We're saying it verbally. Is a verbal contract also enforceable?
Professor Kennedy, I agree with you. A verbal contract is enforceable, but in this particular instance, the chairman is right here. LPP and Honorable Boaka and Jeremiah couldn't even admit on Spoon Network. We were the only party that did not receive a phone call. We did not allow any meeting. The party executive committee, in fact, they issue a statement that no executive committee member should have any informal negotiation or talk with any of the remaining two parties in the race. The executive committee should have a separate meeting independent of any influence to make a decision. And that's what it so as a result of that, there was no formal discussion, no formal talk like we'll do this, we'll do that. No, nothing.
Okay, thanks for the clarity. Let me ask this final question real quick. Would you say, I think Mr. Zeze mentioned earlier that the party, the current administration is in an administration that is inclusive, meaning, you don't have, I think you mentioned that, right, Mr. Zeze, that it's not an inclusive government right now. But would you say that the benefit or the opportunity to work in the government, would you say that would be something like a pay for play?
Because he appointed
appointing one of your partisans in support of Mr. Boycott, is that pay for play?
But you can't say pay for play because there was no agreement. We didn't say it will support you.
You don't have to say it, but I'm saying, is that construed as pay for play?
I don't think so, because firstly, every Liberian has the right to work. So
Yeah,
I mean,
are
you saying we should tell our VSB, oh no, because you support it and we don't want to give the impression for pay for play, don't accept the job?
Gotcha. Okay. No, that's my question. Thank you for the answer. No problem.
Thank you, Professor Kennedy. Toga, if it's okay with you, I'd like to jump in here with just a couple clarity, and hopefully he can speak to them. First of all, I want to start with the statement that Mr. Zeze made earlier. He said, and I want to be clear, correct me if I'm wrong, you said, from the eve of the Christmas, one can determine how the Christmas will go. You then follow up. To my question, you said, if you were opportune, okay, to repeat or make the decision you made to support President Boycott, you would do it again without any regrets. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Do you?
And in fact, given even the mistake, with the missteps that we have identified,
okay,
we still, that's the route we'll take.
So, quick question for you. You spoke a specific issue here, and I just want to get this clear. Were you or are you aware of the acronym that was used during the elections when the UP ran? Are you familiar with the acronym?
Which one?
The
rescue?
No, not the rescue one, but they had an agenda. Arrest?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay, and as part of the arrest is agriculture, right? That is
it's the first one, right?
Thank you. The very first, thank you. And that acronym actually highlights says agriculture at the very first of their building block. Then they allocated 1% of the budget to agriculture. You speaking of agriculture and saying we must invest in food production in order to create job opportunities. Knowing within yourself as a government in waiting, and you still see reason to say, if you were given the opportunity to make another decision, you will still support this government, even though they ran on a specific agenda on an acronym that was literally spewed out there, and ignore that in the implementation, but you're still telling us today that regardless of that, you would still support them if you had the opportunity simply because you wanted to get rid of George Weah? Is that what it was about?
No, we were not getting rid of George Weah because of George Weah. We're getting rid of George because of the policy. And mind you, I've written a lot of articles on agriculture, and I got a lot of friends in the Weah government. We communicated with them. We told them agriculture is the way to go. He didn't pay attention. They didn't pay attention. So what difference does it make? That because the second time he's going to be different than what he did in the 6 years? No. If he didn't give us an example of his policy, his performance, then we can say, okay, we'll try Buckeye. Let's see what we can try. We have tried Weah already for 6 years. He didn't look in that direction. He did not. 4% died, people who were criticizing him, and they died. Up to now, no investigation. And you're telling me that's the man should consider? Oh, no, sir. No, sir.
All right,
4%.
Okay, let me come in.
Yes, gotta Peabody, please. Yeah.
Let me comment. This is you've been in government for a length of time, a very long time. And some of the, I mean, you're saying some great stuff tonight, but you had the experience. You work in government more than 25 years, probably almost the time that Buckeye worked in government, probably maybe less than that. I mean, you're laying off some great stuff tonight. Very good thing. I wish the government is listening to you. You got thousands of people listening to you around the country, around the world. You're on 2 major radio stations, Hot FM, Real, Truth FM. But during your time in government, why didn't you come up with these brilliant ideas? You talk about the schools in Liberia. The students are performing poorly. There is less high school. But why didn't you advocate for these things? Now, you all the time you stay in government. How can you convince somebody to say what you're saying? You are saying it from your heart. You're truly saying it from your heart, or rather because the Buckeye government is not working with you. That's why you are coming out and saying these things now.
I guess you haven't followed my writing.
I have not.
You will not, because from Tottenham High, from day one, we've been preaching good government, anti-corruption policy. We've been preaching it. I'm a member of the Movement for Justice in Africa before LPP. I was student representative at the University of Liberia. And we criticize, we talk. So in 1986, I'm one of the signatories to a document criticizing Sameh Kanyando. We demonstrated in New York day and night against Sameh Kanyando. That's one of the reasons why when I graduated, I could not come back home because I was already blacklisted. I started school 83, by 84, I was finished. So I had to look for a job in the United States. And I didn't leave until 2016. All because we felt that we should come and participate and help the government. That's why I came home. But I've been preaching throughout, sir. That's why we are where we are. And that's why some people don't want to see us.
Do you see any future in the Buckeye government? Do you see any hope for Liberia with President Joseph Nima Buckeye, your uncle?
If all of us begin to ask him, he will listen. That's what I think he's able to do, unlike we are.
Okay.
We was just dancing. Buckeye is sleeping. I guess when he gets up, he might listen. That's my hope. We have slept too long. I mean, he danced too long. Buckeye is sleeping too long. But maybe when he gets up, he will listen. Because look, how can somebody send 4 different names for one position? How is that possible? He got to be sleeping. Let's wake him up.
So I think people are calling through now. I don't know what your next plan is.
Yes. So we will give it 8 more minutes. So when we have the last 10, then we just shoot it with calls. I think, you know.
If I can come in.
You want to open the lines now?
You're already calling my line.
Maybe Jones can talk, or you can make comments.
I just want to ask you one more question.
Okay.
Before you open the line, please. Okay. Chairman Zizi, You talked about, you know, the lack of, you know, revenue from the Liberian companies, right? When I raised the question of why Liberians don't attract private investors and Ghanaian companies do. I don't think the answer. I think the answer to that question is because we just have a very horrible finance minister that doesn't know his job. That he's the one supposed to regulate.
Alex, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, financial statement. He's not doing that. And our central bank are not managing the banks well to say that you have to loan. There has to be certain requirement. And they do not need to take the reserve from the bank, for the commercial bank, and loan it to the government. So the problem is right. The solution is right within them. You just have a bad central bank board and central bank governor that doesn't know his job, and a bad finance minister. To add to that, you got people in the House of Representatives and the Senate that on finance committee that really don't even ask financial questions or make any kind of recommendation.
Alex,
because Ghana banks, Ghana or companies, they're not just drive from the sky. You know, the things that are happening in Gambia or Ghana or Burkina Faso, they're all government were limited, but the people in those positions were able to create these different processes, hold the companies, the LMPC accountable, the LPRC today can go take loan with all the finance minister saying, no, you can't do this. Let's see your financial statement. They don't even have financial statement. So why can't we pressure the government, the political people now, right, to remove some of these people, the finance minister, the governors of the central bank? Today, the full inflation is what, 25% in the country, and you still have a central bank governor. You don't have any Liberian industry that you say can hire 200 people. So what are the financial people who are paid to manage our economy doing? And what could they do to improve the lives of the government? Not the political side, financial people.
The financial side. Let me just give you some examples.
Can we wrap it up before we can go to the calls?
Guys, let's do this, please. I have one of our panelists on the line. I don't want to keep him too long because I mean he's bereaved. Let's bring Ben on, Benjamin Ben Sambi, to ask his question, and then you can just add it up in your response. Because I mean he would have been here, but you all know the problem. He's bereaved. So let's just take his call, and then we'll go back to. Go ahead, Ben.
Thank you, Lofa, and thank you to the team and for holding it down, and thanks for all the messages. Mr. Chairman, it's good to hear you. Great interaction, great show. I'm just a little concerned on something you said. Excuse me. You mentioned the issue of I think it was Larry or Alex who mentioned the issue of a binary choice. And it not necessarily be that they have to support Mr. Weah, right? Or former President Weah. But you clearly stated that it was Kenabo, sorry, who mentioned the issue of a binary choice. I remember now.
Yeah.
You clearly are stating here that with all of what you know, everything that you were complaining about, in fact, your last statement you just made about the president was that he's sleeping.
Right.
Weah was singing, but he's sleeping. I mean, listen, it's on the record. I supported Mr. President. I supported President Weah. So I'll take a sing up before I take a sleep up because you can be singing and driving. At least your eyes are open, right? And you don't run the car off the cliff. I would rather somebody who's singing in the car to not run the car off the cliff than a driver who's sleeping on the wheel and drive the car off the cliff and keep everybody in the car. But that's not the choice I'm asking you to make. What I'm asking you the choice I'm asking you to make is, when you say with everything you know, with all of the shortcomings, you will still do this again?
Yes.
For me, I think, I want you to clarify that, because the other thing that I noticed during your endorsement, it didn't seem like your standard bearer was all in for that endorsement. So can you maybe in this public manner state maybe what his vote was on the executive committee? Did he abstain? Did he not? Did he say, okay, I know he had to, as a true Democrat, which Councilor Gongo is a man that I hugely admire. As a Democrat, I'm sure he obeyed and he had to go by what the majority said. But he didn't look like he was excited about that endorsement. Not that he wanted to endorse WIA. Maybe he wanted to stay neutral. And so I just want to know from you, Charlton, would you have taken the Alex Cummings route where he probably stayed neutral, or will you still again? I want you to really think about that. Will you still again decide that you will vote for President Boakai, even though in your words he's sleeping on the wheel and he's taking the country across the cliff? Those are my questions.
Thank you, Ben.
Like I said, come back again. Between WIA and Boakai, the party, not only me, the party will select Boakai.
Wow.
Yeah. Now, let me just focus on the financial aspect. Look, those of you put in the financial world need to do a lot of work. I'm appealing to all of us because many of the times, most of the people who are in the political parties financially, they're not well, or they're not participating very well. I give you a typical example. Look at Farmington Hotel. Was there any feasibility done to see that it's profitable? Where are the customers today? I went to Buchanan, I went to the big hotel. I went to the garage, I said, why you don't have cars parked here? He said, there's no business. Or why, for example, EcoBank established a branch in Zozo. Who are the business people to borrow money from EcoBank? Who? You establish a bank in Vanjaman. Yeah, it's a huge population, but banks make money from lending money. They don't make profit from, Western Union money, money grant, or cashing checks. They need businesses to borrow money. Look at the mistake again we're making. We're going to electricity. Where are the customers to make a privatized electricity profitable? Where? Most time, you depend on commercial and industrial entities or customers. Ellen, knowing her, she went and said there should be light in Maryland County, Grand Cru, Nimba, and Grand Gide. Today, we are indebted to the company that's supplying light in those counties. Now we are establishing light in Cape Mount, in Bombing. You have people who are making less than $5 a day. Let's say 5 times 30, $150 a month. Is somebody willing to take $40 for them to pay for light bill? I mean, but right now we say, electricity is not manageable. Let's privatize it. Do you have customers to make the investors happy in terms of producing profit? Or better yet, this will be the second hot potato issue from rice, we're going to electricity. Because we are asking the government to subsidize electricity. That's what we'll be doing. Because you don't have customer. If you don't have customer for 6 counties to have commercial banks, do you have customer for LEC, for water and sewer? Your great United States, do you have telephone company or cell company in every locale? If you don't have the population that will make the utility company profitable, no. You will make profit in Ghanansville, Bannersville, but can you make profit in Feasible, where people are not making money? You can, not even in Zozo. So I'm saying to you, the business knowledge is not there. We need to do more talking. We need to be educating people. You don't have companies in Liberia, they can't employ. You say, we're going to investors. To do what? You don't have skilled manpower. If you have companies, you need skilled manpower to produce. Where are your skilled manpower? Today in Liberia, you want to repair your cars, someone has come from Guinea or Ivory Coast or Sierra Leone. You want a carpenter, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Guinea. You want a mason, Sierra Leone, Ivory Coast, Guinea. Where are your vocational schools to have skilled manpower? You don't have them. So how are you going to lure in or into your country manufacturing companies? How? You don't even have good drivers. So yes, business is important, but let's stay. A lot of the companies are investing without producing feasibility studies to see whether that company is profitable or not. So most of them, a lot of companies now paying their loans because they can't make money. And that's why everybody going to real estate, keke, taxi, service industry. They're not going to manufacturing. So it behooves the government to think twice that you're not going to have other investors coming to Liberia because you don't have the skilled manpower. So your own employed youth look for activities that they can do and you reduce the crime rate. Other than that, we're going to be like Haiti, where you have gangs that will take over the country. That's the fear I have.
Thank you so much, sir. We just hope you can just give a few minutes of your time so that we can get Lofa and our team in Liberia to both open the lines. Lofa.
Thank you, sir.
Let's take a call from back home first, and then when folks call here, we'll take them.
Yeah.
Henry.
So that's it. 777-017-635 is the number to call, and they're going to be live here tonight. On the closing document, 777-017-635 is the number to call, and then you're going to be live here to talk to our guest tonight on the closing document. 777-017-635 is the number to call, and they're going to be live right here on the closing document. So let's get to the line and take this very first caller. To this caller. Hello. How are you, sir? Your name from where you join us? Are you guys getting him?
Yes.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the panel for the discussion on tonight. But sometimes it's so difficult when people will come on platform to say, "Oh yeah, this man was my, but it's difficult. You see, the country is in position. For change that you bring, what I mean, whether it's thieves, but it shows supporting them. So what's the key for when you support that business? So these people sometimes when they come on platform, these are the people that really follow into this mess. They don't bring any change.
Okay, thank you. 777-017-635. 777-017-635 is the number to call, and then you're going to be live here to talk to our guest on the closing document tonight. 077-017-635 is the number to call, and then you're going to be live. To this caller. Hello? 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 Oh, we lost our caller. What's going on? 077-017-635. To this caller. Hello? And you from where you join us? On Dubo Road. Go ahead, make a point.
Thanks for the topic question. So, I actually called to especially with Wakai, I call the program, and I didn't get the very well, so we are king, I don't think, and go back too much. But if they do, what we're expecting him to do, and for Wakai, we're expecting him to play his phone of power. Like, if he regularly get there, Wakai, we want him to wake up and do well for the country. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. 077701763 077701763. So this caller. Hello? Hello?
Yeah, hello?
Your name from where you join us? Your name again? Cabra Este. Go ahead. Oh, Cabra.
Cabra.
Thank you so kindly, because we lack system, so things are not in order. 077701763. So this caller, and from what you doing us? No, Bobby, you have to go that way. You don't keep near the radio. The feedback.
Henry, I got a caller here. Caller, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
Hello, my name is Melvin Yadro from New Jersey.
Let's hear from you. Go ahead.
I want to just talk about the electricity issue. I didn't the studio get talk about the information he gave pertaining to electricity regarding our country is just not a fact. There's no way people live without electricity. In the United States where we live, you cannot live here without electricity. Just yesterday there was a storm in my community in New Jersey. We were out of electricity for more than 10 hours. We couldn't eat, we couldn't shower. Because the water in my house is on a well, and the well is pumped.
But you agree that you agree he never said that people would live without electricity, though. He never said that.
Because listen now, it's something he said indirectly. Because he didn't say people in certain areas in Liberia that he mentioned cannot afford to pay electricity. So because of that, they don't need electricity. That's just wrong. Go to Ivory Coast, all the bamboo houses along the Liberian border, they get current inside. What are their income? African people live on coffee and cocoa, and these are seasonal produce. They don't operate throughout the year. They can afford to pay their life in Africa throughout the year. They live in Bapuma houses on the polo. From Nima County across into Africa, I mean, the valleys. The people in Africa can afford electricity, our people can afford electricity. So for you to say that, oh, they're not able to afford to pay, they make $5 per day or per day, it's wrong. It's wrong concept. That's what making our country to look the way it looks. And secondly, electricity. If you got electricity, that's what we have in Africa. You will have factories coming to Liberia because those factories run on 480 not 120, not 110. So if you get good power in your country, you will have factories coming.
Thank you.
This is the reason why Fatu has a full hydro. Because at the time Fatu in Liberia, there was no power like that in Liberia. You have to pay that full power hydro.
Thank you. Let's take the next caller here. Caller, go ahead. Your name and where you calling from?
This is Jesse calling from North Dakota.
Let's hear from you, boss.
Yeah, I just want to speak to my same brother in the studio where the guest. You know, I think Jimmy Ben asking a question that myself I just sitting here thinking about, and I'm very thinking why he keep emphasizing that he will repeat the same thing, and then he's still sitting there complaining that the government is not proceeding right. Because when you want to compare, when you want to compare, I'll be honest with you. I've never voted president, we are whatever 1 hour in the election. was my choice, but not President Weah, neither Bouaka. But right now I can tell you for real, I think the Liberian people, they made a mistake. They were better than live with the devil. They know that the they haven't seen. You understand? Because President Weah did not use 22 million on the dusty road. President Weah did not put 7% name on one position, 7% to one position. President Weah did not, how they can call it, his DA official was not fighting among himself and doing a whole lot of stuff. So there are so many mistakes over and again. President Weah, most of his trial that he did, he brought something back, but all the time brought that trial, nothing he brought. And then the only achievement that I know that he got that one day police crew that they put together, they over there. So why are you keep making the thing seem that this government is better than the past? No. Okay, if you want to be reasonable, then just say both of them the same. And then be honest and say, hey, we made a mistake. It's better you say it now than for you to say it later than the people will. And another thing I want to say here is I think his support for Mr. Bouaka is because they both from Lofa. And I believe 100% he was the one that convinced the party to give their support to Bouaka. Because with all his statements he's making here today, my brother, you got to rethink. Because Bouaka, you seen it clear. He made a statement that when the question was big, you know from him. So I don't know why you keep making that statement. So I think my thing about it, and then later maybe when you appear in another show, you can make it clear that y'all made a mistake.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Toga, let's take back to you. We don't have any more call here.
Okay. So Mr. Yankwe, I guess you listen to Mr. Sisi, sorry. You listen to the callers. You like to respond to some of the things you listen to.
I'll be frank with you. The first two calls.
Just wrap up your entire closing
the first
argument.
Two calls, I did not get them clearly. But let me just deal with the guy with the issue of electricity. I'm saying to you when.
And sorry, but there was another guy that also talked about, whether you think you made a mistake. And
I would deal with that. That is
party to going to Bouaka because you're from Lofa and you call him uncle.
Again, are you listening to my criticism of Bouaka during the election? You won't say so. You won't say so. I mean, I was one of those who was very critical of Honorable Bouaka, and I pay a price for it for my Lofa people. Especially when we went to Lofa to campaign. We went to Foya and all. We told them, yes, we're from Lofa, including Honorable Dosto Wolokoli, Honorable Fulmo Koklo. We say we are children of Lofa, but we don't think he's the best candidate for Liberia. And we still believe in that. But between he and Bouaka, he and George Weah, he's the best, or he's a better candidate than George Weah. You come tomorrow, you give me Weah, you give me Bouaka, I'll select Bouaka. Now, let me go to the issue of electricity. I am saying, yes, we need electricity. It's like people need food to eat. But how do we do it? Should we say the failures of LEC is because it's run by the government? Mind you, the LA administration and Bouaka administration gave the management of LEC to a private company from Europe. Not only that, they raised $700 million and gave it to the private company to run it. Not only that, Money Captain was the executive CEO of Melina Challenge Account Liberia. And Dr. Clarence Monumba, at one point, he was the chairman of the board. So you had all the great guys who were managing LEC. You had, or not managing, playing the Liberian side, and you had a foreign company manage. So in essence, LEC was somehow privatized. Why up to now there's no financial statement, but we're rushing to say we should privatize it. That's what I'm talking about. We privatized it. Today the government is obligated close to 20 million to be paid to a company in the Ivory Coast. When you don't have people to buy LEC, and you say you want LEC, it means the government is going to be paying the bills. That's my concern. I'm a patriot. I'm interested in people, but when my heart cannot be hung where my hand can reach, I will not put my heart there. That's what I'm saying.
Mr. J. Yankwe would like to thank you for taking up your time and joining us here on the closing argument. And we look forward to having you here again to have some of these very interesting debates. If in 6 months you can have these sort of opinions, we know 1 year from now you will have even more stronger opinions. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure having you, and we look forward to seeing you and talking to you again very soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all the panelists, Lufa Julius, my friend Tutu Jones, Kalebo, my own comrade, and Mr. Henry Jala and the rest. Thank you very much for the opportunity, at least to say one or two things to the people in the diaspora. This is my second time appearing on the Diaspora TV since the election. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And so we'll now go across the, yes, thank you very much. We'll now go across the table to hear from you all on your closing argument. Who can we, Mr. Gonglo, you want to close first?
Yeah, I'll close first because I got to run here.
Okay, Ellis. Ellis.
Okay, thank you. I think Mr. Zeze, is a very good financial person. It's a tragedy in Liberia that people who have, specialized expertise, right? Whether it's Lufa Julius in IT or is, Kelebo doing his pigs, but we don't value people based on expertise. If you're not with a government, you don't support a person, then they kick you out. And I think that's a big mistake because there's a lot of things that require skilled labor force. And just as you were saying that today on my page, I wrote there, I said, what's the largest skill percentage we have, people with skill in Liberia? That's a question I want to know for my research. What era, that can we say Liberia is producing a particular skill that the work can use or we can improve? And I don't know that. So most of the problem he highlighted, I think they did not do a good job in the campaign, Councillor Gonglo. They did not have a policy, like a website or to go on these shows and talk about these things. And that's the tragedy of most politicians, is that they get into the, just the surface things. Like they don't break down the main issue, like electricity and privatization, like, the lack of farming and industrialization and how to do it. So Liberian people they hear the same story over and over. So I think that was my disappointment. Hopefully they can change that and start to be more engaging, go on more platform. And I would say the same thing with Alex Cummings. I have nothing against him. I believe a smart man, but he was not able to come and lay out clear point. Like even when you say tourism, give us a breakdown plan. Okay, this is how I'm going to create. This is how much money I'm going to put in tourism. This is how much job it's going to create. This is where it's going to be. We have this site, whether it's Batala or something. So a lot of times the noise it overshadows everything. And that's my only disappointment, that politicians should be more detailed and they should bring more financial focus policy.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. It seems like Mr. Gonglo won't be fired at, so he won't be playing.
I guess
you won't go now. Okay, so
I guess I'll go. I'll go. So
yeah, please.
So
Gonglo won't be the last thing.
I want to have the closing. So Kelebo can have the closing.
We're very happy today.
I'm advertising my pig right here on this other screen. That's what I'm doing here.
So you know what? I think it was a great show. My only thing here is, unfortunately, he appeared to be knowledgeable of the happenings on ground, but when it comes to the idea of implementation, I think he fell short. Unfortunately, he doesn't understand. Now, I don't want to say whether he understands it. I don't think he has a grasp on how to get it done. He been a part of the system. He has seen it happen before, so he knows it happened, but the practical understanding of providing solution is lacking. And again, could this probably be because of the fact that he may have been, misplaced? If he came from a financial background and understand the financial sector, I think he will be much more proficient or efficient at, providing expert knowledge on finances and other things. I'm not saying one cannot be diverse when it comes to these things, but from listening to him respond to a lot of the questions, especially the decision that he made, okay, he consistently said, to some extent, he contradicted himself. The government is performing miserably. The people are, even at this point, the people you want to represent are requesting the return of President Weah. But you're stating to us, regardless of the fact that the people have shown to us, President Boyka have shown to be a colossal failure, he failed miserably within less than a year. I will still support him because that was the decision I made. So it kept me thinking to myself, okay, where are you going with this? You have not realized that you made a mistake. Acknowledge the fact that you made a mistake, because the president, how in Ben Sandi's analogy, how can a sleeping man operate a moving bus? You are destined for failure. You're destined to kill yourself. And he said, yes, I will still support the man who is asleep to control the narrative of the state. The president is the CEO of the entire country. Okay? He is the chief architect of the foreign affair of the activities of the state. So for one to sit over here and tell me, say, look, you know what? Regardless of that, I will still support him. It leaves me in the vacuum to think for myself, God, what are we really thinking? Where have we found ourselves? And that gives me the reason also think about, okay, you know what? Probably this could probably have been the reason why his political leader in Mr. Gonglo made the decision to make a statement on Spoon Talk that he would rather sit on the old mat to plot a new one, probably because they had no sustainable plan to remove Liberia or hopefully transform the nation. So this is what they're struggling with. He appeared to be a great intellectual, good heart, very kind, and, soft-spoken. I must commend him for that. But when it comes to the issue of how can we solve Liberia problem, I don't think he understands how to actually solve the problem. And if he does, I don't think his performance tonight was one that anyone would want to consider a possible solution to Liberia problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Lofa. And I know, Mr. Gonglo, don't worry. You will be the last. Don't worry. So let me speak to this.
Oh, now you want
I want you to be the last to speak. You know that what you really want. When we all fit in, then you wrap up. Oh, no problem. But I would like to say this. I think it's a whole political statement. First of all, when you hear the LPP tell you that, oh, if we had the same situation, we definitely support Mr. Boyka again. The statement coming out of the LPP for me is clearer than anything else. The LPP is actually disappointed in not just Boyka's performance nationally, but they are disappointed in the fact that many of the names that they submitted to the president were not approved. The fact that the LPP came into a marriage with the Unity Party, they expected most likely Councillor Gonglo brought his entire class in. What I even heard from the cycle of the LPP is that I think only Councillor Gonglo in our space did not want you. He was very clear about it. He was a push on certain stuff. He did not want it. Bulk of the young cadres in the party needed opportunity, especially many of the young people who contested for offices across the country, for representative and stuff, that put in all their time to get some votes from across, because at least if you ran in a district and were able to get 2,000, 3,000, or 4,000 votes, you definitely would bring at least 1,000 or 2,000 of those votes to Councillor Gonglo. Now you feel that this marriage that you got into, in every case and time, you will get some slough. I know some of these friends of mine personally, and their CVs are all there. Those CVs were taken to the executive mansion, and nothing is popping up. Now The government's payroll is bloated. That's what somebody said the other day. The president has a job, but the president does not want to get other people job. And it's becoming a problem. The president has a job, but he's not getting other people job. So the president, after getting the job, you gave a job to the vice standard bearer of the LPP. Now, you see now there is a whole moratorium placed on employment in the government. The LPP vice standard bearer hands are tied. He alone get job and sitting at EPA. The highest number of people he can take at EPA probably that the immediate office staff. Maybe just 3 or 4 persons in his immediate office. It's troubling. The government is not opening the space for new people to come and say they're still looking at payroll audit. They're looking at a lot of stuff. So everybody seems to have their hands tied in the government structure. So you wake up every morning, maybe you EPA boss, you come from LPP, your house is crowded with all your young cadres. They bring in CVs, you can't get them opportunity. So you're angry. This is the real problem. So all these people are having issues. Like this man, he said, yes, he's around 70 years or so. I mean, these are the people that are supposed to get on board, Lofa. These are the people that are supposed to get on board. You support these kind of people knowledgeable on some kind of board in the financial sector or something. Nothing, absolutely. President Boubacar seemed to be appointing most of his old friends from CWA and other places and leaving other people who work tirelessly in different spaces to get in here. So I think the LPP has a point, but the LPP is trying to be a little bit political about it. And this is where the situation is. I will give you the chance now, Mr. Gonglo, to kindly express yourself on the that what I made the last, so you can be able to clear all these things. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy you being my pig business. I have more than 220 pigs on my farm now, and I'm looking for buyers.
We are here. We want to highlight you and your business. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said, where are the guys?
We are here.
No, I want to be looking at you guys.
I thought you were promoting your pig business.
Oh, you're trying to promote the business.
I got pigs, big pigs, small pig. I'm selling them. I got price ranging from $75 to $350. I mean, I can service any market. More than 220 pigs on my farm now. So here's what I'll say. I'm the great show. Chairman Zizi doesn't disappoint you. I like the old man. Even in his old age, you see that when he was young, he was very radical, And during his time, to have been elected student representative to the University Council, during that time, it means he was part of the cream of his college to be elected, So I give it to him. Yes, some of the observations, some of the comments were fair comments, but I have him to disagree with a few of them. Like Toga said in his closing, yes, the government it's a fair analysis, but I don't think that is LPP is playing politics on this. I think Councillor Gonglo has been very clear. There was a executive committee meeting in recent time, and he was very clear that even if this were an LPP administration, getting job will be based on the merit system. It will not be based on the fact that you LPP partisan. So people should not go to somebody and say, yeah, my CV become a partisan. No, let's be clear on that. This was what we say we're going to do to change the country. We can't change the country by repeating the mistakes of the past. So I guess people need job, but let it be based on the system. We can't get job outside the civil service procedure. That if there's a vacancy, it should be announced. People should go take CSA test for it, and then you get hired. It should not just be like, okay, Ellis Jones is from LPP, Ellis Jones taking this. No. So I think it's a debate. I mean, I know sometimes it's difficult for people to buy those because it's bread and butter issue, I get that. But the point, the whole thing about, in context, if you listen to Chairman Zizi very keenly, he said he had a lot of great friends in the CDC government. He said there were unofficial engagement with them proposing things to do in agriculture, how to mitigate all the stuff. And I can even admit to you, and something which was not public, I can say for the public today, when my friend Double Jala was at the PBCC, George, you actually thought of taking him from PBCC, making him agriculture minister when that vacancy was there. I'm aware of that. That discussion was held. And I, in the background, I was one of those that drafted different proposal. We're going to have the presidential initiative on cassava, on different crops. And we're telling the CDC guys, hey, you made Double Jala agriculture minister. We're going to reroute this and change the agriculture sector. In 3 years' time, the change, the value addition chain in food chain will be different in this country. We'll put money in people's pockets, in the villagers' pockets. We're promising that. They were not interested in that. They were interested in stealing money. So Chairman Zizi was very clear that, hey, they engaged these guys unofficially advising on what to do. They didn't listen to them. That's why he's insisting that, look, these people had their power. We talked to them. They did not change. They did not listen. They didn't yield to our advice. If you bring the same group before us to make a choice between they and Bouaka, we are not going to go with them. We are not going to go. That is why, in context, that's why he's saying. And in fairness, this election had 18 candidates. Had Alexander Cummings, the only Liberian with the highest corporate experience so far living. Not that publicly that we know of. There could be others. But he grew up to the global echelon of corporate America. He was on the ballot. He was rejected by voters. Councillor Gongo had 10-point count agenda, how to transform the state. He said, listen, I don't want to be president. I want to be the manager to transform the country, like a project manager for a period, put the country on the right footing. I'm going to reduce my own salary. I'm going to go to take treatment in public health facilities. I will not go outside the country unless doctors say I must go. He made these promises. He said, this is a compact to the Liberian voters. They rejected. Who did they choose? They chose a Buga dancer and a Sleeping Joe to be the two to go to the final. And he expect us to look otherwise. There was a binary choice to choose between a Sleeping Joe and a Buga dancer. And the party chose a Sleeping Joe. I get Senator Chairman Ben an analogy about a driver that is sleeping behind the steering. I get that. But that's how you present it. But Chairman Ben, we got so much video of you also about Mia. Okay? So we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there, you know? We're not going to go there. But Liberia is what it is, okay?
Okay, thank you. The father been on the show to defend himself.
Big shots.
Yeah. If you're on the show, then we're getting you on a time. But when the man on the show, you go for the man, then we hijack you. But thank you, Gongo. Thank you, and thanks to everybody. Henry, you can take it from here. Thank you so much for being in the studio up to this hour. Thank you, and thanks to everybody. Thanks to you all.
Wait.
On your show, Henry. On your show in Liberia. I got more than 220 pics on my phone in my Bible.
We'll talk about that.
Ben wants to know what you said. He said he about to.
The Ben said he got video on
that. Oh, so Ben was not listening. What guy you test that, Ben? That Ben.
I didn't test him. I didn't test him.
Oh,
good night, guys.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
The video team that Lofa bring up a very causing trouble. That people gonna be very careful.
Be careful what you say on the video, right?
The video is
on the video.
Yeah, good night, people.
All right,
Good
man.
job, Toga. I really enjoy you today. Good job.
Oh,
Host on Monday.
Kenny Bo will host on Monday.
No, I can't be a host.
So we're gonna take this all the time we have to be with you today on the
Well,
closing
Aaron,
document.
you didn't
Yes,
answer me.
fascinating, educative, and
Here we go.
informative. There with our panelists. Let me say many thanks to you for your listening, Rob. Many thanks to you for following us online. And many thanks to you for following us via the radio. Many thanks to the team that Hot FM 107.9 for reading this program. And the team there at 2FM 96.1 in Nimba County, Sakapié for also reading this program. For the on behalf of the team, I have made your own presenter, producer, and presenter today. Yeah. On the Renaissance Radio 96.1. The name is Heron Jada. I catch you when I catch you. That's going to be on next Monday, at which time the team going to be at the game to carry through. So many thanks to the technical team as well. Thank you. Catch you when we catch you. Bye-bye from our end.